It is 6 o'clock, June 15th. Thank you for being here at the Lee County Commissioner meeting. Glad you're all here. Can you please rise? We'll pray and then do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, I come to you today just as a gentle reminder that we are created in your image and in your likeness, Lord. Please watch over our hearts, guard our minds. Thank you for giving us words to be able to speak, ears to listen, Lord, and a mind that continuously seeks after you, your guidance, and your authority, Lord. Please watch over us tonight. Help us to have a good meeting, that words that are spoken are kept in a reminder of you, Lord, as well. Please watch over us as we are guiding the actions that are presented on this agenda in the future, Lord. Watch over us as we drive home safely tonight as well. All this in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have your agendas in front of you. Anything to add or change to the agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the agenda, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We don't have anything under recognitions on the agenda tonight. Does anyone have a recognition that they would like to share?
Madam Chair, I would so graciously like to state that the Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup for the second time in the past 20 years. Unfortunately, my Caniac family is busy this evening, but in celebration of their victory last night, here I am.
And appropriately dressed. We will move forward with agenda item 4, public hearing. The public hearing for tonight is on the UDO text amendment. Thomas will be going through a PowerPoint with us, and then we will move into the public hearing component. I just want to remind you ahead of time, as we prepare for Thomas to present, that the public hearing will be on the text amendment only, and then we will, if you have other items that you'd like to talk about, we'll cover that in public comment. Thomas, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Planning board members, commissioners, and staff and citizens. Just have, I know it's a lot of information to throw at you, but I just want to kind of reiterate that most of these changes are for both the city of Sanford and the town of Broadway, and it focuses primarily on residential growth and how to kind of tackle that with updating a lot of the regulations and standards with regard to subdivisions and residential development. So minimal changes and minimal substantive changes for Lee County. So. As you may know, we have UDO updates that are intended to align with our long-range plan, which is called the Plan San Lee. That went into effect back in 2018. For the benefit of the public too, the Plan San Lee, a comprehensive long-range plan, is just a kind of a snapshot and kind of a projection, a trajectory, an intended growth pattern, just for how we want the county and the communities within the county to grow. So we were trying to align our UDO, our Unified Development Ordinance, with that Plan San Lee. These UDO updates were put in front of the Joint Planning Commission for guidance and consideration between 2022 and 2024. In the summer of 2024, the city of Sanford approved these UDO changes to go into effect in September of that same year. And we are just, we've had a couple of cleanups, a couple of, impractical elements of those UDO changes that we've had to bring back to the Joint Planning Commission to actually get changed to. And those were finally cleaned up and approved by the city of Sanford in February of 2022. So you have a bit more of a means-tested set of UDO standards before you here. So just wanted to stress again that these UDO updates are primarily geared towards addressing increased residential growth for the city of Sanford, and the goal from the outset was to minimize impacts to Lee County residential development standards. Almost all of Lee County is zoned either RA or RR, RA being residential agricultural and RR being restricted residential. Those zoning districts remain entirely unchanged, and with the exception of some clarification language, standards for commercial and industrial development across all jurisdictions remain unchanged. So the first and most obvious change to the UDO, though, is just a stylistic or formatting change. You can see on the left, we have 10-point font, Times New Roman, and it's double columned, which a little tougher to read. It's really difficult to cite or to take excerpts of and send to developers and inquisitive citizens. So we changed it to single columned, 12-point font, and made it like a sans serif kind of text there. So it's just easier to read, neater, cleaner looking, and kind of flows better. So that's just the big stylistic overall change to the UDO. So. As mentioned before, residential development standards for the county remain largely unchanged. The only zoning districts in the county jurisdiction undergoing changes are the R20 zoning district, and 20 R for residential, 20 for a minimum of 20,000 square feet. The R20 zoning district is being renamed to RN20, but all the existing R20 in the county, which is about 55 parcels in total, stay that way. They're not going to be changed to anything more dense. The zoning doesn't change. It's just a change in the name. One thing to understand about those changes, though, is we are changing some of the zoning standards that go with it. If you see there on the screen, the 100-foot lot width minimum is shrunk down to 80 foot, and then some of the setbacks get a little more shallow, too. So, also, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me and ask any clarifying questions, too. So. All right, another formatting change includes an update to the permitted use matrix, and again, you can see on the left there, it is Times New Roman, I think it's like 9-point font. We've actually changed it to a 10-point font and changed the font, the type of font there too, and color-coded as well. So green, horizontal, vertical lines indicate the residential zoning districts, the darker green for the one multifamily zoning district we have, the blue for the commercial, and then the orange at the end for the light and heavy industrial zoning districts. So just again, just to make it a little bit neater, a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to read and understand. One of the cleanup changes we put through the JPC earlier this year was a change in how the lot width to depth ratio standard for cul-de-sac lots was applied to major subdivisions. I know this is going to get super technical here, but this is one of the reasons why a good number of subdivisions that come before you have subdivision exception applications. The UDO allows for cul-de-sac lots to go down to a 35-foot width because they're on a little bulb and they have to have this pie shape to kind of fit those lots in at a cul-de-sac. But we have a 1-to-4 lot width to depth ratio. So however wide a lot is, it can be no more than 4 times that in depth. So if you have a 35-foot wide lot, the deepest it can be is 140 feet. And you can see by my crude little math there on the screen, that gets you just under an 11,800 square foot lot, which is fine in the city when you have a 9,000 square foot lot minimum, a 6,000 square foot lot minimum, and so on and so forth. But in RA and RR, which have 40 and 30,000 square foot lot minimums, or R20, which is a 20,000 square foot lot minimum, you can see how that's a little problematic. So we just decided to pose an exemption. Cul-de-sac lots only are exempt from that lot width to depth ratio. Does that make sense? So. Another standard we have proposed here is duplexes. Duplexes have always been allowed in the RA zoning district, and just so for everyone's benefit too, the RA zoning district does allow 2 units, 2 residential dwelling units. So you could have a duplex, which is 2 houses under one roof connected together, or 2 homes. So you could have 2 single-family homes on the same lot. We've simply expanded the duplex use to be allowed by right in SN9, which is like the new version of R10 in the city, in the town of Broadway, and UN6, which is the new version of R6. So the only thing we've done with duplexes is added a couple of supplemental standards for duplexes as well. So kind of regulating parking, regulating the location the presence of ADUs, which would be like a granny flat or a mother-in-law suite in the backyard, that kind of thing. So, let's see. Okay, so we've added some clarifying language for exempt plats. The state legislature actually defines what an exempt plat is and what types of actions are exempt from local subdivision regulations. So we have simply put some language in here that allows city staff to look at something to verify that we don't actually have to look at it. We have to be able to evaluate exempt plats to determine and sign off on those plats and say these actually are not beholden to subdivision standards. An example of that would be a lot line adjustment. If you have 2 lots that are side by side and they're both 100 feet in width, and the minimum lot size or the minimum lot width is 100 feet, sometimes property owners will try to shift a line one way or another. They're not creating any new lots, they're just making one lot larger, one lot smaller. We've run into situations where that has attempted to happen, and without being able to at least look at an exempt plat and say, this doesn't create any other nonconformities, this is an exempt plat, this is okay, you could create some legal sticky issues in the future. So we have some language here, and then an exempt plat certification for staff members to actually have on the plat and then sign it. Another change that we've added, and again, this is less of a change and more of a clarification in writing. This has been staff level interpretation for many, many years at this point. The question is, a minor subdivision is allowed to create up to 6 lots. You can have a parent tract of, let's say, 10 acres, right? If you want to create 6 one-acre lots out of that 10 acres, when can a subdivider, a property owner, continue on and not be considered a major subdivision where they might have to extend utilities, might have to add roads? We have, as staff, always held them to a 1-year time frame. So if you create your 6 lots and you have a remainder left over and you want to subdivide further, you have to wait a full year. We have always had that as a staff level interpretation. The city of Sanford has implemented and approved a 3-year waiting period, but in Lee County, the waiting period would be 1 year. Does that make sense? So, because otherwise, if you have 100 acres, create 6 lots at a time, then come back, create another 6 lots, create another 6 lots, and you're not having to extend a public road or extend water or sewer or things like that. So. This is another, really more of a codification of interpretation. So we added some language regarding access easements. We have never allowed property owners and subdividers to create multiple easements side by side. And just so everyone knows too, we require a 30-foot easement. That is a 30-foot wide strip of land that is required for creating landlocked parcels that don't front a public road. So a property owner, if they want to create lots, away from and not having frontage on a public road, in order to be able to get utilities back there, in order to be able to get their own personal vehicles, in order to be able to get U.S. Postal Service and ambulance, fire department, they have to set aside a 30-foot strip of land that can be traversed. We have specified that you can't have more than 2 side by side, because otherwise, if you get into 3 or more, you're getting into almost one whole lot's worth, or almost 90 feet of land that can't be built upon, that can't be used. They have to find other means of access to that lot, or they can't subdivide it without moving forward with building a public road. So this just specifies that you can't have more than 2 access easements side by side, and you can't run an easement through a pond or an existing structure, things like that. Things that you would think would be somewhat common sense, but we do have interesting and unique interpretations from property owners trying to be able to create easements that you actually can't use. You can't drive through a pond, so that's legally kind of untenable, so. This is one new addition to the UDO that will impact all subdivisions, primarily subdivisions in the city, but all subdivisions. It's a requirement for a 20-foot perimeter green belt or a 20-foot perimeter landscape buffer around the subject property of a major subdivision. It's only required for subdivisions 10 acres or more, but it's not intended to be a planted landscape buffer, but more of a tree preservation area. So the limits of disturbance of a new subdivision, where a developer might be grading and clearing land and things like that, instead of being up to the property line, we would simply be 20 feet back from that property line to create that buffer, both a visual screening and a kind of just a nice natural existing buffer between older neighborhoods and new neighborhoods, or older countryside that isn't being developed and a new neighborhood, things like that. We have some specifics in there about if, of course, you need a road stub where you're gonna have, if you have a neighborhood that's being developed up against a 50-acre parcel that may be developed in the future, at least having a roadway stub to that property line. Of course, you don't need a landscape buffer there. We also have some provisions for utilities and sedimentation and erosion control ponds, things like that. But in general, new subdivisions over 10 acres in size just have to preserve an existing 20-foot band of trees around them. Does that make sense? Otherwise, we also have some additional details about open space requirements. The current UDO for Lee County just has open space as based on the number of lots that you're creating, and it doesn't clarify or specify what kind of open space it has to be. It can be purely passive open space, which is just fields or woods. Almost all the time, what is dedicated as open space is going to be wetlands that no one can build on, or big slopey hills that no one can really use or even play on. What we do is we delineate between active and passive open space and provide a list or a menu of open space amenities that the developer can choose from. We also have a catch-all one, other amenities or features approved by the zoning administrator. That's put in there because, 20 years ago, pickleball wasn't a thing. 20 years ago, splash pads weren't a thing. We don't want to miss out on the next pickleball or splash pad with a UDO text amendment process. So we just put that in there. If they can just say, hey, we have this new, trendy thing that people like, we can put that in there too. I will clarify that open space standards, including these, would not apply to RA and RR zoning districts. They currently do not, but they would apply to the R20 areas of the county. Otherwise, we have another clarification here too. Currently, our UDO allows for subdivisions to plat lots in floodplain, in flood hazard areas, so long as they have 1,200 square feet of buildable space outside of that floodplain. Not the best idea. It's from 20 some odd years ago. We simply have changed that to prohibit lots from being created in the floodplain. You can look at on the figure 6.6-2 is how lots can be platted in a floodplain now, and 6.6-3 is how they would be platted from here on out if this text amendment is approved, simply taking those lots out of flood hazard areas. Part of the reason is because once people own something, if people don't own it, they're less likely to build on it, of course. That's a problem in and of itself. But people may build gazebos, small sheds, things like that without permits. Believe it or not, that does happen. And they can build those things in floodways, in flood hazard areas, if they are on their property. And one of the biggest things is every structure, everything you put in a floodway is like adding a pebble to a bucket that's half full of water. Every structure you put in there displaces more and more water, so downstream it becomes more and more of an issue for houses that are close to or in flood hazard areas. So we've simply, for major subdivisions, taken that option away from developers. They simply cannot plat more lots in floodplain. So, yes, sir. Do you have any question for me?
No, sir.
Oh, sorry, okay, sorry. This is another one that has come before this board several times in the past and has been the subject of some subdivision exception applications. And I know Commissioner Vorbeck is not a fan of it too. This is changing the 30-lot threshold for ingress egress into new subdivisions to 100 lots. That is a reflection of and an alignment of state law changes and state fire code changes that have changed that threshold from 30 to 100. So even the Lee County Fire Marshal no longer has the legal standing to require 2 points of ingress and egress to fully functional roads for smaller scale but still pretty big subdivisions. So that lot trigger is changing from 30 to 100, and that's pretty common statewide. The city of Raleigh has a 250 lot threshold, which to me is insane, but 100 is the standard that you see all across the state, and that is a reflection on the changing state fire code.
So just to double check, we can't change that, right?
I don't believe we can change that. We can't conflict with state law,
Okay.
unfortunately, so.
All right, thank you.
Some other changes, and these are some commercial clarifications more than anything else. We do have some additional changes to and tweaks to Article 10.1 regarding outdoor storage. Just kind of reiterating the purpose of the outdoor storage. It's to screen outdoor storage areas from residential and commercially zoned parcels next to the property that has outdoor storage. And for clarification too, outdoor storage is not like fleet vehicles or parking areas or even display items for sale. It is, if you're a plumbing company and you have pallets full of pipes, right? That is outdoor. If you want to stack those pallets outside, that is outdoor storage. So that would have to be screened with a Type C 20-foot wide buffer. So we just clarify what the purpose of that is. Elsewhere in the UDO, it does say that outdoor storage screening isn't required up against railroad tracks, which makes sense because you might have industrial users that need to use a railroad spur and load product onto those railroad tracks, and not up against other industrially zoned properties. So industrial to industrial, you don't need that landscape buffer because they're two uses that are very compatible and aren't really going to bother each other typically. The other element that we've added here is outdoor storage shall only be permitted as an accessory use. Outdoor storage must be established with a principal land use and structures. That is, again, a long-standing interpretation, even from myself, from Amy, but even before Amy, from Althea, that a property owner can't simply throw down some gravel, put up a chain link fence and say, this is my boat storage business. They actually have to invest a little bit. They actually have to build an office space of some kind and put some landscaping in and parking and things like that. They actually have to make it a discernible commercial use. So not just a field with boats or RVs placed in it. So. Also, ADUs, accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as granny flats, mother-in-law suites, basically just a second smaller home in the backyard in addition to your principal dwelling. Used to be, they were only, or I should say, for the Lee County purposes, they have always been allowed in RA and RR. The city of Sanford has taken it upon themselves to approve changes that allow ADUs in all residential zoning districts. So this is, again, not really much of a change for the county, just kind of letting you know that the city has also kind of come on board with ADUs being allowed in all residential zoning districts. The city has some additional standards about the siding and the size of the ADU. You don't want like a 2,000 square foot home in the front and then a 5,000 square foot mansion in the backyard. Necessarily, the ADU has to be, slightly smaller and clearly secondary to the dwelling. It has to be in the back or the rear, and have some provisions about access and things like that in those standards as well. But those would only apply to RN20, SN12, SN9, and UN6. The standards for RA and RR zoning stay exactly the same. And lastly, or getting pretty close to lastly here, we do have in 10.7, this is another commercial zoning standard change. 10.7 governs commercial design standards along major thoroughfares. We have added a section that mirrors the existing language in both our multifamily and our shopping center sections, also in Article 10, that require pedestrian connectivity, otherwise known as sidewalks, for most commercial standards. We do have some provisions in there if it's simply not practical. That would be a decision made in conjunction with the Public Works Department and Planning Department and our Transportation Planner, David Montgomery. But we do have basically codifying, again, a requirement that we've had for quite a good bit of time to require sidewalks for commercial development. A good case in point of that would be, if you've been down Jefferson Davis Highway recently, you've got the First Health and the Dario coming in, and a few of those other businesses, and there are sidewalks along Highway 1. That's just a good practice to have, because you're going to have more pedestrian traffic walking through there. You don't want them walking through drainage ditches or mud or tall grass, so they actually have a safe, and you certainly don't want them walking in the road, so we actually have a safe place for pedestrians to walk to get to local businesses. So, other than that, my last slide is just showing where the...
Would you back up?
Yes, sir.
Where you had the RV at one point, I think it was.
Should I back up one more, or?
One more, I don't see the RV.
Go back one
You
more.
had two staff members' named, right there, the example.
Yeah, that's right, yep.
Is it?
That was just reiterating an example of like RV and boat
That's
storage.
not my question. Just give me a minute, will you? The question is it necessary to name those two staff people in that example instead of just saying the planning department? The
I
question-
suppose it was not completely necessary, and I could have kept it more vague. So,
Yeah, it could have been planning department and not name individual staff members.
absolutely,
Thank you.
yes, sir. And last slide then is just showing, so this is a zoom in of the city of Sanford's jurisdiction, which is in gray, but then you have some of the areas around it that are in unincorporated Lee County that are currently zoned R20 and would then be, if this proposal is approved by this board, changed to RN20. Approximately 55 parcels, probably not a lot of areas that are easily converted into a major subdivision, but, famous last words there. So, but just showing how minimal these changes are for the unincorporated areas of the county. Commissioner Vorbeck, do you have a question?
I'm counting.
Oh,
No,
okay,
You're good.
sorry. So, and that's it. I'll pause there for any questions you might have. So.
Questions for Mr. Thomas from the board? Thank you.
Of course.
Wait, I do, sorry. You answered one of them when the Plan San Lee was adopted, which was 2018, so we're coming up on 10 years. I know it's referenced a lot on the UDO updates per Plan San Lee, and this is probably more of an opinion-based question. Do you think we're finding ways to make it fit the plan, or do you think that the Plan San Lee still fits how we are currently and what the future is? Like what you're seeing coming across your desk and the
Sure.
planning?
So our senior planner, Amy McNeil, actually keeps track of when rezoning requests actually align with the long-range plan and when they don't. She is out for literally the next few days, and she's been out for about a week now. She has a better understanding of that. That might be more of a question for David Montgomery or Marshall Downey. I feel like I wouldn't even want to be able to give a percentage on that because I truly don't know, and I haven't actually looked at it. I don't know. Oh, hey, Marshall. So.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Yeah, so I think the answer is both. I think part of it is when we bring these changes to you, the plan is in effect, it's adopted. So there's a lot of that that's still relevant and still, in terms of good public policy, it's in place for a reason. However, there is a need to update the plan. It is 10 years, going on 8 years old and so forth. So I think it's both. I think there's relevance to, as we have, I've talked with you all in the past, for example, about your RA and your RR and how the zoning doesn't always align with the plan per se. And so there's always ability to tweak that. But in general, yes, the growth we've had, you've seen the numbers over the last 5 years. We're a growing community, so yeah, it's always going to
And
need
how-
updating, and we're looking into that.
Okay, that was going to be my next
Yeah.
question was, I know it doesn't just happen overnight, so if it's,
It doesn't. And so we're working with the city on some growth stuff now, and hopefully if we can come out of that with a vision of what maybe urban, we can come back to you and work with you all and kind of get an update and do that
okay,
kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's-
that would be great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall.
So I guess I'd love to know a little bit of the reasoning on why we're going from like the R20 and then the RN20 with starting to make some of the lot sizes smaller, especially like going from 30 feet to 12 or 15 on the back.
Sure. Primarily just to give the homeowner more flexibility on where they would want to build their house. Lot sizes tend to, as you can probably see, lot sizes are getting smaller in terms of what the market is demanding, right? So we have developers that are asking for, 6,000 square foot lots, but our minimum lot width used to be 60 feet, and now it's 50 feet, but we've had developers ask for 40-foot wide lots,
Well, yeah.
which is more and more difficult. We're trying to, when it comes to RN20 or R20, that is kind of that dividing line between kind of truly, exurban, low density, but still kind of a suburban neighborhood, and more of the rural areas that we'd see in RA and RR. It's just to meet some of the changing demand from some of the builders and the developers is just slightly shallower setbacks and allowing for more flexibility with lot size. I will say that 80 foot is a minimum. They could do an 85, 90, 95, what have you too, so.
Okay, thank you for that one. Are we able to, could we, I guess my next one is, are there R20 lots in the city?
Yeah,
Does that
there are.
make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could we have different restrictions than the city, or they have to be the same?
No, they don't have to be the same necessarily. No.
Like if we wanted to keep our R20 and the city have their RN20, those two things could coexist, correct?
It is theoretically possible, yes. We'd have to add another column in the density, the permitted use matrix, but it's theoretically possible, yes. So.
Okay. Okay, and then I know, we talked about this kind of roughly a couple meetings ago. I didn't see anywhere in the 140-something pages about anything
sorry.
that talks about future planning when it comes to schools, as far as like, when a subdivision is approved, what does that impact look like on the school system, wherever it's located? I don't know if that's even something you can look into, or what does that look like?
So that does get into some broader legal issues. So I will say, all subdivisions, all major subdivisions, I should say, all major subdivisions have to come through the Technical Review Committee, TRC, and we do have 2 Lee County Schools representatives that attend and participate in that meeting, Stacy Eggers and Justin Covert. Stacy Eggers is, I'm going to say it's Assistant Superintendent of Operations, and then Justin Covert is the Transportation Administrator for Lee County Schools. So they are certainly aware of the proposed subdivisions that are out there, whether it's city or county, and I'm sure they are planning appropriately with regard to school bus routes, school capacity, things like that. With regard to the question about the broader question about like school capacity and subdivisions, that's a challenging question that I don't know. It gets back to, does a board have the authority to deny a subdivision that meets subdivision standards, if you have those ancillary issues? And I see Marshall's here too. So.
Yeah, so I would just add, what this goes back to is a little bit about your comment about the planning, because what happens is, Thomas is exactly right. What would typically happen is, we would work, for example, with the school system and get an idea. We would go through, work with you all from a land use planning standpoint, work with the city. Ideally, we would get to a point where if the information from the school system, we would know where there might be needs and where they would need from a planning standpoint, 5-year window, 10-year window, what that would be. Where this really typically comes into play is when we sit down with a developer and they're looking for an area or looking for a project. Then we can sit down with them and say, hey, there's a need here. Would you be willing to volunteer either the land, if that would be something the school would want, or it may be something where, again, it's sharing information on how to best route transportation, how to best route those kind of things. But it's typically not something where we can mandate legally. It kind of gets into a grayer area. It's more about getting the information front-loaded and kind of getting that policy in place so that when that developer shows up, then you can try to work with them. Because a lot of times, as you know, some of the larger projects are conditional zoning.
Yeah.
And so that's where you can kind of negotiate that process out. But usually that's very much and most developers are willing to do that so long as they can kind of build that into their return on their investment and all those kind of things. So, again, a larger project.
There's always stipulation of annexation, too.
Sorry?
There's also stipulation of annexation. You don't have to annex them to give them their
That's
water
right,
and
that's
sewer.
right. So a lot of that is just information sharing at the very beginning. And so again, as we grow and we kind of get better with our planning and working with the school system, those kind of things would be something that we could look into and
Okay.
work through that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm almost done. You did the active space, which I love. I think that's amazing because you are absolutely right. They love to throw unusable land and they go, oh, there's this great open
That's
space
right.
for you to not use. And check that box. So I think that's huge. So, like, say these would go into effect, they'd approve, they'd go into effect, then all future applicants would have to, so I'm trying to think on, if it doesn't change, so if we update the new UDOs and it doesn't, an application comes through and it checks all the boxes, would it still come back to us for a vote on a yes or no, or, I know I'm not,
The UDO itself?
yeah, well, like a subdivision.
Oh, a subdivision?
Yeah,
So yes, the plats, a preliminary subdivision plat does come before the planning board for Lee County, for the planning board and the Board of Commissioners. Yes, ma'am.
and then what would you say the ability for us, if it checks all the boxes, to deny that subdivision plot?
That is a great question, probably more for legal counsel. I would think, I don't know, because the zoning that you put in place, whether it be RA, RR, that is telling property owners, this is what we expect and this is what we want in terms of growth, right? If a property owner meets all those standards, they tend to be entitled by right, it is legally thought that they are entitled by right to do what they want with their property as long as they abide by those standards. It is an administrative decision as opposed to rezoning, which is a legislative decision where you have a little bit more discretion. But administrative decisions typically are, do they check all the boxes? And if so, they're approved because they are entitled to that legally. So I see Marshall is here too to add to that.
Just to echo, because you may recall, we brought a potential amendment to you, I don't know, a couple of years ago,
2
maybe?
years ago.
We actually brought to the city and to you all the idea of no longer having you approve those
Yes,
because it was.
I just
it's
am making
considered-
sure.
Yeah, it's considered a technical review versus legislative. Like when you're
Right.
doing a rezoning, that's a whole different thing. You have a lot more flexibility. But a technical review, to your point, if it meets all the ordinance standards, really you can't turn it down. And you can have them go back and say you don't like a street connection, you don't like the way it's designed, but you can't flat out deny it. Okay? But, and to that end, what we discovered is reviewing the ones we brought to you all into the city, none had ever been denied. So the
Yeah.
question was, do you still want to review them? Which is fine, I mean, you have that authority to do that. But yes, you really can't deny one, you can only send it back and have them redesign it.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then I have one question, not necessarily on this, as far as public hearings go.
Yes, ma'am.
When is a public hearing triggered?
Sure. A public hearing is triggered per state law. Public hearing is triggered for any rezoning, any text amendment, any special use permit request, and any variance, and annexations as well. But subdivision plats themselves do not require a public hearing.
And then anything within the zoning list, if that is.
That's correct.
In there, does not trigger, like if it fits in that category, it doesn't trigger a public hearing.
That's correct. So for example, yeah, if you have a C2 zone property, general commercial, and someone wants to put a car wash there or, a Dollar General, there is no public hearing required because that is an administrative decision where the property owner is entitled by right to build that thing as long as it is specified in the UDO.
Okay,
So-
all right, thank you. I'm done.
Any other questions from the board?
Oh, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing on the UDO text amendment. I do not have anybody signed up to speak specifically on the UDO text amendment, but I want to give the opportunity in case after hearing this, anyone would like to come forth and oppose or speak for the amendment. All right, so we will close the public hearing. And the planning board, I believe, will depart and work together. Thank you. Okay, we are going to move into the public comments section. Just
Madam
a-
Chair,
Yes,
real
ma'am.
quick, will the planning board come back in?
Let me ask. Will the planning-
She wants the planning board to come back.
Oh, you
No,
would
no,
like
no,
to-
no, I'm asking because I was going to open those seats to the people sitting on the floor.
That was just,
Okay.
yep.
Those seats are now open.
Yep, thank you.
No.
All right, so we're going to open the public comment section. We have a number of people signed up. The way we're going to run this is, I'm going to call the first three names, which are Bradley Reed, Jonathan Boyce, and Amy Hall. If you would please come forward and sit in the front here to my left, or unless you're already here on the right. And then I will call out the next person to speak when the previous person is finished. So Bradley, Jonathan, and Amy. When you come forward, please state your name and your address. As a reminder, you have 3 minutes to share your comments. The clock is in front of you. All right, Bradley.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm speaking to you today to demand that the board reject in the strongest possible
Excuse me,
terms.
sir.
Yep.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Yeah, sorry, it's Bradley Reed, 1797 North Plank Drive.
Thank you.
So I'm addressing you to demand that the board reject in the strongest possible terms any approval of data centers development in the Lee County and the city of Sanford.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to pause as the chair is requesting that we keep order in the room. We're going to move through everybody, and everyone's going to have a chance to speak. We please not going to have clapping and standing and howling as we speak.
Time.
Okay, this time is running down even now. Sir.
Yep. So the people of this community have spoken loudly and clearly. The only question remaining is whether you represent us or represent the corporations lining up to exploit us. Over 100 residents packed the McSwain's Center in March to stand before this board and say no. That is not a suggestion. That is a mandate. Every vote cast in favor of this development is a vote against the people who elected you and it will be remembered. The Deep River Data, a company that will be admitted ties to the cryptocurrency industry, is attempting to tap a natural gas reserve in northern Lee County to power an AI data center. Let that sink in. An outside corporation wants to extract our natural resources, industrialize our land, and walk away with the profits while we are left holding the consequences. This board does not have the right to hand them that opportunity. The harm this community is not theoretical. Our energy bills will skyrocket. Residents across North Carolina face real risks of higher utility bills, significant water consumption, air pollution from on-site power generation, and relentless industrial noise from cooling systems. We will be paying in dollars and in quality of life for the infrastructure that serve Silicon Valley and not us. The jobs promise is a lie. The project converts vast stretches of rural land into industrial zones while producing almost no permanent employment for local residents. Trading our community's character and our children's environment for a handful of jobs is not a deal, it's a con. Our land is not for sale to the highest bidder. Lee County belongs to the families who have lived, worked, and built lives here. No rule set crafted in a conference room projects us from the permanent demand that facilities inflict on our land, water, and community. Apex, Wendell, and Durham have all had the backbone to enact moratoriums and protect the residents while proper study could be done. There's no excuse, none, for Lee County and Sanford to do any less. The community has been pushed into a high-stakes experiment where we bear every ounce of risk while the industry collects every dollar of profit. This is not governance. That is addiction and demanding you to your jobs.
Mr. Reed, if I might interrupt you, I did give you an extra 15 or 20 seconds because of the time that was absorbed in the howling,
Okay,
but you have hit your 3-minute limit. Can you wrap up your thoughts, sir?
yep, I'll be
Thank you.
there in a second. Vote no, enact a moratorium. If you will not stand with this community, the community will find representatives who will. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, Derek Nedwork, if you would come forward, please. And Jonathan, if you would come to the podium, please.
My name is Jonathan Boyce, address 1432 Lees Chapel Road. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jonathan Boyce, a father of 3 young children. My family lives on Lees Chapel Road within walking distance of the proposed data center site. I believe the first duty of leadership is to protect people and life. I see the Board of Commissioners motto is committed today for a better tomorrow. I believe you took this job with a commitment to uphold the mission and core values of our county, our citizens, our families, and our natural environment for generations to come. That's why I'm here tonight. Because the proposed data center project represents not just a development, but potentially a fundamental threat to the very foundation of a better tomorrow for this county. Recent and ongoing scientific studies increasingly demonstrate that data centers are not just energy hogs. They are sources of harmful low-frequency sound or infrasound that can physically harm humans, farms, and our natural environment. We're talking about sound waves that travel immense distances and penetrate buildings, causing documented symptoms like headaches, fatigue, and even triggering seizures, effects that can be profoundly disruptive and life-threatening. This is a public health crisis. But the risks go far deeper. These facilities require power on a scale equivalent to the output of multiple nuclear reactors. This energy demand necessitates enormous electromagnetic fields. The sheer scale of this energy generation and transmission introduces another layer of harm. While long-term effects of high-level EMF exposure are still under study, we know these fields can interact with biological tissues and have been linked to various health issues. The cumulative impact of these potent stressors, infrasound, and intense EMFs concentrated in one location is staggering and deeply concerning. Imagine a technology requiring the energy output of nuclear reactors generating physical stress through infrasound and complex EMFs, all aimed right at Lee County. We are talking about weaponizing acoustic and electromagnetic stress on a massive scale right here in our homes and our neighborhoods. Think about the future we're trading. Are we committed to a future where our children and grandchildren can grow up healthy, free from debilitating chronic health issues caused by unseen, pervasive environmental stressors? Are we committed to protecting our farms, our livestock, our wildlife, and the integrity of our natural resources? I stand before you with a personal stake. My family has experienced the devastating impact of high-frequency EMFs from a single residential smart meter on my son's health, triggering medication-resistant seizures. The power and frequency emitted by a single smart meter overwhelmed him. A full-blown data center operating continuously 24/7 will produce frequencies of magnitude far greater, potentially 1,000 times stronger and at much deeper, known to be harmful infrasonic frequencies. What kind of tomorrow will Lee County have if we allow an acoustic and electromagnetic weapon to be mobilized against our own citizens, our farms, and our natural world we cherish? Every choice we make either sustains life, promotes health, or diminishes it. What kind of tomorrow are you committed to? One that prioritizes well-being of all life, or one that risks the devastating, powerful, unseen forces? Which future will you choose for Lee County?
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Mr. Chad Spivey, please come forward. Can you all hear me? You're good, thank you. Can Mr. Spivey, would you please come forward in the front? Thank you. Amy?
Amy Hall. I live at 4217 Lower Moncure Road, quite literally on the other side of the substation that you are talking about allowing to be built, as well as the data center. So the impacts are going to be felt most directly with me and my family. Hopefully you guys can hear this. This is the noise that will be going 24/7, 365, within 2 miles of that data center. There is no escaping it. Constantly. You are telling us that the people here that live within a half a mile, 2 miles, have to live with this sound constantly if you say yes and don't put a moratorium on this. We live in a rural area. We chose to live in a rural area because we were choosing a quiet way of life, a slower way of life, not one full of data centers and malls and all of the other things. We have goats, we have chickens, I have show dogs. How do you think that that sound is going to affect them 24/7, 365? Please, you will not like the results as far as the voting goes if you choose to vote yes to this. I don't need the other minute and a half.
Amy, thank you for sharing. Randy Nixon, please come forward. And if Chad Spivey would please come to the podium. That was him.
Chad
Oh, okay.
Spivey, Sanford, North Carolina, 2006 Lord Ashley Drive. Hope you guys are doing well. Appreciate the hurricane shout out. That was a phenomenal win. Good reason to be tired today. I'm just coming in today to talk about a little bit about Parks and Rec. I think that parks are not a luxury, but they're an investment in our community. And they provide safe places for our children to play and our families to gather and our seniors to stay active. And they improve public health, strengthen local economies, and they also increase the quality of life for everybody in our county. Many of our parks and trails are maintained through the dedication of volunteers and community partnerships, but they still require a lot of county support to remain safe, accessible, and enjoyable for future generations. And cutting any type of funding that impacts Parks and Rec today to save a few dollars on the back end for perpetual expenses is going to cost our community far more in lost opportunities and neglected public spaces. And I'm asking you tonight to stand with the families, children, and citizens of the county by preserving Parks and Recreation funding. And specifically, I've coached with a couple of the maintenance people over at LCAP, and I know they're pinched and they work really hard with the funding they have right now. And so removing any funding is going to make that even a more difficult challenge. And my brother-in-law owns an amazing restaurant here in town and brewery, and the impact that all the people that have been coming to the Sportsplex and Sandley Park to ride mountain bikes is phenomenal for his bottom line. I went there yesterday and there was a team full of travel ball kids just sitting there spending dollars in our county from out of town. So it's had a massive positive economical impact on our restaurants here locally. So we're just asking you to please reconsider any funding that you possibly may remove from Parks and Recreation in Lee County. Thank you so much for all you do for the county, for your time, for volunteering for this hard job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. And so we're going to have Derek come to the podium, please. Derek Needwork. And then next will be Randy Nixon, and followed by Laura Block, if Laura would come forward. Thank you.
My name is Derek Nivrock, 996 Falls Park Drive. So my concern is about the data center, and what I'm trying to get y'all to realize is how can Lee County benefit from this? And that's what I'm trying to figure out myself, because I'm approaching this from an outsider point of view. But I'm also inheriting a piece of land pretty close from that. So what is that going to do to my property values from not even like next week or but next 5 years down the road, next 10 years down the road? Am I going to be able to sell that? Do I want to live there? Probably not. But I want to, I mean, in all honesty, does Sanford have the capability to handle this data center? Because from what I understand, it's like a $900 million deal. Where's that money going to? 50 jobs, I think, was the max or something that I had done the research on. 50 jobs? That's not a lot for 430-something acres of land just being given to this one little data center. So, I mean, where does the benefits outweigh the negatives? And what I'm seeing so far, the negatives are a lot heavier because the water usage is almost like over 1,000 gallons a day. Can Tri River handle that? I'm pretty much done. I just want y'all to think about, is this going to benefit us in the long run? Because I would love for my kids to have the opportunity to pick if they want to grow up in Sanford like the many generations before me. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
You take care.
Thank you. If Mike Paventa would come to the front row, please, and Randy.
Good evening. My name is Randy Nixon. I live at 1147 Cumnock Road. Last meeting, I said publicly that the new UDO standards for data centers look like they were put together in a weekend. After the meeting, I was approached by a city commissioner who assured me they personally worked on these standards much longer than a weekend. So why is a city commissioner conducting county business? This board and all of its constituents, we didn't vote for them to conduct this business, nor did we hire them. They had no business getting involved at all. Our beloved Commissioner Reeves made a motion for that moratorium. Half the town came down here, and this board voted 6-1 in favor. So where is the moratorium? It looks to me that we as constituents got played, and you as county commissioners got played as well. There are factions in this government who will lie like they breathe. They are ready to sacrifice our health and well-being so this data center can be built. The experts Saga brought down, 2 of them work for Point One, and I have the proof. That moratorium was voted on. So if that permit is granted, I think the next step will be exploring legal action, which will put this board, its staff, the planning board and its staff, as well as the city council under extreme scrutiny. So to keep it short, we're sick of being treated like third-class citizens in our own town, as if we're the burden to the powers that be. We're not going to quietly sacrifice everything we have so 1 or 2 families in this town get richer, while we lose everything. So what is it going to take for this board to do the right thing and protect us? Thank you. God bless America, as well as Lee County.
Thank you, Randy. Sheila Sherrick, please come forward, and then, hi, Laura, welcome.
Laura Block, 1147 Cumnock Road. Last time I came up here, I talked a little bit about transparency and NDAs. You might recall at the meeting in April, Saga had invited a few people from out of state to come talk to you, and they expressed their support for the amendments of the UDO. 2 of those gentlemen from New York have worked on the project that's being proposed. Andrew Watzer worked on the photometric plan, or his company did. And Josh Casarino personally signed off on the noise study. So Samantha, Mrs. Martin, you might recall you asked them, why are you here? They were here to protect their economic interests. They were not open about, we're actually working on the project.
If I could interrupt you for one moment. Please address the board as a whole and not individuals. Thank you.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you.
Another board member just now just kind of asked some questions about what happens when we talk about a specific business case in a UDO. Do we have any option, for example, to stop a subdivision? I wish that person had asked that question before, because right now, as the amendment to the UDO lists data centers as permitted use in light industrial, it's permitted by right. So our options are now much more limited in order to be able to calm down, look at all the options. This is why we kept coming here to request a moratorium, so that we would have time and get everything right the first time before someone slipped a permit or slipped an application in. I'm hoping that we can still have time. I've been told that the UDO is a living document and that we still have time to amend this. A data center has a useful lifetime of about 20 years. I hope I don't have to keep coming here for 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Would Wendy, Brian, please come toward the front, and Mike, please come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Mike Paventa. I live at 2718 Bel Air Drive. I would like to speak about the budget and how it relates to Lee County Libraries. Lee County Library has been afforded a new and larger building, which I, along with many others, enjoy using on a regular basis, and this is for good reason. Why, you may ask, I have some stats for you. Over 300 people showed up for the kickoff of the summer reading program. The parking lot is full every Wednesday morning because of story time, and so many people come to the library that they had to place an extra parking sign. 17,867 books, I'll repeat that, 17,867 books were checked out during the month of May, an all-time record, beating the previous month of May, which had 12,918 books. 530 new library cards were created in May. 5-star reviews on Google. Meeting room use by patrons increased 300%. Previously, it has never been more than 60 a month, but in May, that number was 153. So this is why continued funding for this library is so important. With no budget increase, we will not receive these spectacular results. So let me ask you this. Would you expect a piano player to play flawlessly with missing keys, or an artist to draw to his or her fullest potential with broken paintbrushes or warped canvas? And as a diehard Canes fan, go Canes, could they have won the Stanley Cup with broken sticks, or a goalie who was only in front of the net for 50% of the time? The answer is no. So we can't expect Lee County Libraries to soar to their greatest potential if the necessary means are taken away. Therefore, I ask that you become part of the champions for Lee County Libraries by issuing the proper budget so this great institution can continue to flourish and grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Seems that there might be some issues with hearing me, so I'm going to call a few names, please, to come to the front. Sheila Sherrick, you're welcome at the podium, and if Wendy Bryan and Eric Evanson would please come forward and be ready to present. Thank you. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you. My name is Sheila Sherrick. I live at 30 Lazy Waters Lane in Sanford, North Carolina, and I'm here to say that we do not want or need a data center in Lee County. We don't want to change our way of life. We don't need to have the safety, the health, and our good lifestyle destroyed by bringing in the data center that's going to just make a lot of noise, not add anything to our county, especially not any quality jobs for the number of people we have living and moving into this county. At this point, it's a terrible thing for me to think and feel that our safety, our way of life, and our health is being sold for whoever has the biggest dollar. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Wendy, you're welcome to come forward to the podium, and if Terrell Johnson would also make your way to the front.
My name is Wendy Bryan. I live at 203 Stevens Drive in Broadway. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to urge you to not delay the recreation projects that are in the capital improvement plan moving forward. In my position with the Sanford Tourism Development Authority, we have state and local data that show that investing in our parks and sports facilities is more than a community benefit, although it is a community benefit. It's a powerful economic engine for our local businesses. I want to share from the past few years some of that data. In 2021, recreation-related spending generated $10.2 million for our local economy. By 2024, that number surged to over $15 million. That is a nearly 50% increase in economic impact in 3 years. What's remarkable, that is while general visitor numbers held stable at about 22,000 visitors, and these are visitors that come from more than 50 miles away, their spending skyrocketed. Every visitor is bringing significantly more value to our local economy. The future projections are even stronger. While we expect continued general recreation growth in 2026, the real game changer is the multi-sports complex, the LCAP. Since August alone, the LCAP drew an astounding 186,400 visits. That is from residents and visitors together. These aren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. These represent families dining in our restaurants, impacting our hotels and shopping at our small businesses. So to echo what Chad Spivey said, they are spending dollars while they're here. 77% of recreation visitors spend the night. So that's great for our hotel business as well, and another reason the TDA is interested in sports tourism. Let's use these metrics to make data-driven decisions that yield the highest return for Lee County. Finally, speaking as a resident and town commissioner for Broadway, I want to say that developing more recreational spaces in Broadway is also a top goal for our board, and we ask for your partnership and support in this area as future capital improvements are considered. And since I have a little bit of time, I'll just share all this data is available to you. I'm using the Visit North Carolina Economic Development report that's supported by the Department of Commerce. It comes out yearly, and the next report will be out in August. That'll be our 2025 data. And I'm also using Placer AI data, the Travel and Tourism Report, which shows that glimpse of where our travelers are spending money, what percentage are spending the night, what percentage are day trippers, and where they're coming from. And I'm happy to share all that data at any time in depth. And also the Lee County Athletic Park numbers are coming from that Placer AI report as well. Thank you for listening tonight, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Wendy. If Donna Evanson would come to the front, and yes, thank you. Eric, please.
Chairman Martin, honorable commissioners, my name is Eric Evanson, 2943 Lower Moncure Road. I'm so glad to hear that you, as our government leaders, are worried and concerned about making changes to the code, as we heard earlier, but I want to talk to you about something that's more important than anything you just heard. I'd like to hand up, this afternoon, I sent to you by email a petition that was drafted by a number of citizens. I have a copy, a hard copy, if I could approach.
Please.
I want to tell you that it's my belief that you're like the rest of us in Lee County, that I don't believe anybody in this board is in favor of the data center. That's just my belief. When this petition was filed online at 2 o'clock, there's now 600 people that have signed it. 100 of them are on the back of this. I want to tell you something. I understand where we are in the process. We're down the road. I understand exactly where we are. But you do have the legal authority to call a moratorium and a hearing. I'm going to give you the hook right here. This is one of them. There's plenty in that petition. But listen very carefully, because this is significant. On August 18th, the Planning Board voted 4-3 to oppose the rezoning of this tract on Lower Moncure. Board member Steve Baber was a no vote. He was here a moment ago. He essentially lives across the road. On September 15th, a month later, after talking with neighbors, he informed you that he no longer opposed the rezoning. You may remember that. He stood right in front at the other building. Why? Because he was led to believe that Trustwell intended to build a quiet business park. The neighbors preferred to do that. He was never informed that a giant data center would be constructed across the road from his home. The planning board is advisory. We understand that. But a planning official says he understood the project one way and later learned it was something materially different, and it would not have supported it had he known. That proves the missing information mattered. But why is all that significant? Because it is clear evidence of material confusion. 4 points. I'm running out of time. I wish I had more. First, this gives the board the reason to call a moratorium now, tonight. And it's very important that you do that because time is running. We don't need to go past the TRC meeting on the 25th and say, we're too far down the road. You can do that tonight. You have the legal authority. Secondly, you can do that under 160D-605. Third, this demonstrates that you would be right in your service.
Can I interrupt you for 1 minute? You don't need to rush. We're going to give you a little bit of extra time to finish your thoughts. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Because I think this is important, and I don't have too much more.
Please go ahead.
Okay, but this gives you the hook. And you're always, you'll hear people say, well, it's just too late. We're too far down the road. No, you're not, because there was so much confusion built into this. And it was just because of the timing. There was rumor of a data center in northwest Lee County, but nobody was suspecting anything on Lower Moncure. So everything passed through. The neighbors said they were fine with a quiet neighborhood. But in that process, and this is explained in the petition, what was really going on was the necessary preparation for something much bigger than a normal, quiet business park. Now, if this is going to affect us for miles, it's going to affect everybody. Do you know, and you're going to hear more about this in a minute, that this data park, the building is bigger, Chairman Smith, it's bigger than the Lenovo Center. The Lenovo Center, it's bigger than that. It's huge. That's phase one. Now, you need something to say, what are we going to do? I think the fair thing to do, and it's clearly explained in the petition, is to pause this. You have the legal authority and say, we need a temporary moratorium. 90 days, 180 days, but there's so many questions about this. And one of the reasons is that the UDO was really inchoate. What that means is it was incomplete. It was unfinished. I attended the August meeting in front of you. I attended the September meeting. I also attended the Sanford City Council meeting. And they were very understanding and very open to the citizens of that town who didn't want it. Very empathetic. And I believe every one of them does not want a data center. I really believe it. And so I think that it's very important that you act tonight, because if we go past the 25th, they're going to say it's just too far. I'm happy to try and answer any questions. I know other people want to talk, but let me say this.
Mr. Evanson, may I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am?
Is all that information available for us in here?
Yes.
I really want to thank you for your presentation, for your information, and for sharing in the way that you did. Thank you.
I wasn't going to say this, but I am an attorney. I'm a retired... I'm a retired assistant United States attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina. And I've dealt with cases for a long time, 33 years. And I can tell you that the law is designed to be reasonable and fair and just. And if you look at the way this process worked out, too many people are victimized by this. And many of these people, you know, a lot of them have wrinkled hands and wrinkled faces, and they're praying, dear God, what can I do about this? And really, you're one of us. You are not the out-of-town developers who live, honestly, in $2.5 million houses. They do. You are not the investors, many of which are from New York, that are putting millions and billions into this and do not really care about the culture and the quality of life of Lee County. They don't.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for bringing this. Could I have Daryl?
Terrell. Terry.
Yes, ma'am.
Just call me
Yes,
Terry.
I'm calling someone else up to come to the front, please. If you
Oh, I
just
was
give me 1 moment, you're fine. I believe, I'm struggling with the writing, but I think it might be Gerald Shamprincey. Am I correct? Yes, sir, if you come forward. And Miss Terrell, we would love to hear from you right now.
It's not like Mr. Evison is an easy act
Similar
to follow.
names. Yeah, you're in a tough position.
I just wanted to say that we moved
Could
here.
I interrupt you for your name and your address, please?
Beg your pardon. My name is Terrell Johnson, and I live at 3033 Lower Moncure Road in Sanford, and it is just under 2 miles from the proposed site for the data center. And we moved here 2 years ago, and thinking, oh, what a wonderful rural place to live. And we did hear that it was, the data center was light industrial, and I'm putting light in quotation marks. My husband and I were very disturbed when we heard that there was a possibility of a data center going in. How a data center is classified as light industrial doesn't even make sense to me. The impact that it has on the environment, as other people have said, is, can be devastating. It is not light. But I just want to point out that the sound levels of a data center can be 65 decibels, but that's 24/7. And we heard what that was a few minutes ago when that gentleman made it sound, made us able to hear it. But that's not just during construction, that's 24/7, and sometimes it can go as high as 85 decibels. And I just want to point out that in Sanford, in the city of Sanford, the operational noise limit is 50 decibels and 45 decibels at night. And it's a little higher out in the county, but it's still not that high. It's not considered acceptable as light construction at that point. I also want to point out that the temperature will go up at least 6 degrees within, I read, at 1.6-mile radius of this place. And people are saying, well, they're bringing in, they're using the water. Well, they're bringing in 250,000 gallons of water to recycle. And they will use that for cooling, and so that won't be a problem. But it will be a problem if have you ever stood behind your refrigerator and felt the heat coming out? Or go out and stand by your air conditioner and see the heat coming out? That energy has to go somewhere. I taught science, high school science. Energy, we all know this, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It has to go somewhere. And so just because it's not getting reused in water and the water's being cooled, it's getting sent somewhere. And so that's my big complaint about it, and I will sew it up.
Thank you, Ms. Harrell. Thank you. Would Lisa Reagan please come forward, and thank you for coming, Donna. Please go ahead.
My name's Donna Evanson, 2943 Lower Moncure. I would like to talk to you about why we need to have a moratorium on data centers. Data center technology is constantly moving and changing, and because of that, Lee County must constantly move and change as we learn to deal with this technology. Lee County is small and doesn't have the resources of larger metropolitan areas. As such, it is easy for data center developers to target us and capitalize on loopholes in our laws. And with the constantly evolving technology, we may not even realize that a loophole exists. I would like to ask you, in previous discussions about data centers, have you considered e-waste? Have you discussed that this 300,000 square foot data center, which is 3 times the average size data center, could generate thousands of tons of obsolete servers every few years? These servers, with their lead and mercury, will leach into our landfills. Will this then lead to crop-damaging runoff, among other things? In previous discussions about data centers, have you considered emissions caps? Have you discussed that natural gas turbines emissions could potentially add 1.5 million tons of CO2 per year? Have you considered how many tons of trees would be required to absorb all the CO2 that will be produced by just one data center? In previous discussions about data centers, have you discussed that the closed-loop system is so new that its lifespan has not been determined? Have you discussed the fact that the water they will use, whether reused or treated effluent, contains contaminants that cause corrosion and bacterial growth in the pipes, and that this water can only undergo a finite number of cycles until it must be discharged? Have you discussed how often the data center will have to discharge their 250,000 gallons of water, and whether they will be required to treat it before they discharge it? Have the developers told you that these issues are actually exacerbated in hot climates? Have you had discussions about exactly how large a 300,000 square foot data center is? We've talked about the Lenovo Center, but are you aware that this data center is comparable in space to the 18-story Bank of America building at North Hills in Raleigh, except for it will only be 75 feet high, and so its land footprint will be much larger? Have you discussed how much runoff a building of that size will have with every rain event? Have you discussed the environmental impact of just that? Because we don't know all the answers, and because this technology is constantly evolving, we must put a moratorium on data centers until we can figure everything out. Other municipalities have standalone, separate special use zoning classifications for data centers. We need to study Charlotte. We need to study Chandler, Arizona. We need to study Prince William County, Virginia, to learn what we need to do to make sure our regulations truly protect our citizens. We need to have a new zoning classification so that data centers are not able to slip in under the radar ever again. We need to make sure our permit application is reviewed by the Planning Commission and a Board of Supervisors and not by staff. We need to make sure the approval of an application of a data center special use permit is discretionary and not guaranteed. We need to make sure a data center will not materially endanger public health and safety. We need to make sure a data center will not substantially injure adjoining property values and is in harmony with the neighborhood that it is near. We need to make
Ms.
sure a data
Evanson?
center.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard the timer go off a number of seconds ago. Did you want to wrap up in a sentence or so?
Yes, the rest of this was just to say that I think it would be good for you to appoint a citizen committee that's made up of scientists, of citizens that have, this is stuff that one person cannot understand, that one person cannot just wrap their head around. And so we have people out here that are willing to help you to look at all these
Thank you.
things. Terry's a scientist. Other people can,
Thank you.
appoint a committee.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for talking. Could I please have Lisa Reagan, Rachel Rouse, and Tiffany Adams come to the front? And Daryl, if you'll take the pulpit, please, or the podium.
Daryl Champney, 1098 Framework Road. I don't know how to follow all these people because I'm not good at public speaking. I'm not good at being up in front of a lot of people, addressing stuff, but I noticed that at the beginning of this meeting, we did pray, correct? And I know one thing about the Bible, which says to love thy neighbor. And I live on the other end of town. This really isn't going to affect me until it gets to the other end of town. But I'm here because of my neighbors in this community. And loving the people around me and seeing this community get harmed by this data center, it's going to affect me. And it should affect every one of y'all too, whether you live there or you know someone who lives there. There's elderly people around here. There's other people that we need to stick up for, and we need to stand up for the right thing and do the right thing. And we can't wait no longer. You need to stop being followers. Stop shaking your head when you don't think you can do anything. Just stand up for people. Take care of your neighbors. That's all it's about. Please help your neighbors. Do the right thing.
Thank you, Daryl. Lisa, please come and share your thoughts, and if Rowan Reese would come to the front, please also. Lisa.
Hello, Lisa Reagan, 2624 Landler Drive, Sanford. First of all, thank you so much for what you do for our community. You have a really big job. And thank you to everybody for showing up today because we are all concerned. This is a really big deal. So you've heard a lot of different points that are very, very good points as far as the health and environment. These are real concerns. And so basically my question is, in line with the lady that was right before me, if you have a plan to form an outside committee that is not connected with the people who are promoting this, who are going to stand to make the most gain from this outside of whatever is going to benefit in the community. If you have a plan to put a committee together, an outside committee that will go and look at the other places who already have working data centers. I looked online, there's over 4,000 around, so there's got to be some comparable areas. And study those communities and how those citizens are affected before making the decisions that allows that here in Sanford and Lee County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Rachel Rose.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Rouse. I live at 308 Dublin Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the importance of parks and recreation, especially the sports programs for children and families in our small community. As someone who's been a volunteer volleyball coach for the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of watching firsthand how recreation sports positively impacts young people. I'm also speaking as a parent whose daughters participated in Parks and Rec gymnastics and volleyball programs. Parks and recreation sports are much more about learning a game. They provide opportunities to help children grow into confident, healthy, and successful adults. Some of the things that I have witnessed that are benefits, it builds confidence and self-esteem through skill development and personal achievement. Watching a kid finally get their volleyball serve, watching a kid throw their first strike, that's a joy that can't be replicated anywhere else. Sports gives children an outlet to feel successful in places outside of a classroom setting. Specifically, I teach middle school science here in Lee County, and I've had students that have been involved in Parks and Rec who, through their involvement in Parks and Rec, it's given them confidence to try out for sports teams at school, which they wouldn't have had otherwise. Parks and Rec teaches teamwork, leadership, communication, and sportsmanship, things that'll benefit children far beyond playing on a field or a court. I mentioned I'm a teacher. I watch kids interact with each other every day. They don't know how to interact with each other. They don't know how to work with each other. They don't know how to work as a team. And they don't have the social skills that kids used to have because of all the technology and the things that they're surrounded with. So Parks and Rec gives them an opportunity to interact with kids of all kinds. It provides a safe and positive environment where children can spend time and be productive. Kids who are involved in sports and after-school activities are less likely to get into trouble and do things they're not supposed to be doing. This encourages physical activity and healthy lifestyles at a time when many children spend time on their devices. My 7th grade students, that's all they do. They're on their phone, they're on their devices. Very few of them are out just enjoying the outside and playing, so Parks and Rec gives them an outlet. They create friendships and a sense of belonging for children and adults from all backgrounds. They're friends that my oldest daughter talks to from their volleyball team from 2 or 3 years ago. Parks and Rec gives kids access to adults other than their parents and teachers and family members. It gives them adults that they can trust in and depend on. I've had kids that I coach come back and get recommendations for LEC and for other things that they're involved in, just because they knew that they could trust me and that they could depend on me. It gives every child an opportunity to participate regardless of skill level and financial circumstances. 120 girls at St. Lee Middle School tried out for volleyball. 14 could make the team. Where else do they go? They may not afford travel ball. I know I can as a teacher. And some people can't make that commitment. Some kids they don't want to have the level of commitment for school and travel sports, my kids included. But anyways, I'll wrap it up. But Parks and Recreation not only strengthens the kids and their families, but it strengthens the community as a whole. It brings families together, creates positive relationships between residents, and foster community pride. The investment we make in our youth programs today helps build stronger citizens and a stronger county tomorrow. I encourage you to continue supporting and investing in Parks and Recreation programs. These programs are not just simply an expense, they're an investment in our children, our families, and the future of our community. Thank you for your time, your service, and your commitment to the youth of our county.
Thank you, Ms. Rachel. Tiffany Adams is next, and then we'll have Rowan Reese, Randy Soar, and Charles Gunter, I believe. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you. Tiffany Adams, 1101 Wiley Street. Good evening. I'm here today to ask that the funding for Lee County Parks and Rec not be cut. As a parent of 3 children, I see firsthand the impact these programs have had on our family and throughout our community. My daughters have been given opportunities through these programs that have helped shape the way and who they are today. All 3 of my daughters participate in gymnastics, 2 competitively and 1 in the training team. We would have never discovered this passion for the sport without Parks and Recs. What began as a recreational activity has taught them confidence, discipline, resilience, and a value of hard work. This year, one of those daughters also discovered a love of softball. Without Parks and Rec, she may not have even had that opportunity to try out for this sports team. Instead, she was able to step on a field, learn new skills, gain confidence, and find something she truly enjoys. But this isn't just about my children. Every day, Parks and Rec provides safe, positive places for children to learn and grow and stay active. These programs teach teamwork, accountability, and perseverance, and respect that these kids will have a sense of belonging and purpose. Just as importantly, these programs are accessible. Not every family can afford private clubs, travel teams, or specialized training. Parks and Recs ensures that all children have a chance to participate, discover new interests, and reach their potential. These programs strengthen more than the individual children, but they strengthen our entire community. They bring families together, create connections, encourage volunteerism, and help make Lee County a place where people want to live, work, and raise their families. Funding for Parks and Rec is simply not funding sports and activities. It's an investment in healthier children, stronger families, and a stronger community. The cost may appear on a budget, but the value is seen every day in the lives of our children. If funding is reduced, opportunities will be lost, and once those programs disappear, rebuilding them is far more difficult and far more expensive than preserving them today. I ask that you continue investing in Lee County Parks and Recs and our children and the families who depend on these programs. My daughters are just 3 examples of this, of their lives that have been positively impacted, and there are countless more across this county. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Tiffany. Rowan Reese.
Good evening. First of all, what an amazing turnout. What a great
I know,
community
it's so great.
we have.
Could I have your name and your address?
I'm sorry, I'm Roan Reese, and I live at 816 North Gulf Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And by the way, I just looked it up. In Raleigh, 75 decibels in Wake County is all you can have for outdoor bands. So an 80 decibel level volume is extraordinary. I'm not here tonight to argue for or against data centers. I'm here to ask whether the process being used for a project of this scale is even remotely appropriate. A project approaching $900 million is inherently complex. It affects land use, utilities, emergency management, environmental protection, infrastructure capability, and the future development of Lee County. The complexity should determine the rigor of its review. Yet this project was introduced to the public only recently, and because it falls under the current light industrial designation, it appears poised to move forward through a process that will limit meaningful public participation. I keep hearing that this project qualifies as light industrial, but what I've not heard once is why. A zoning designation should reflect not only the routine operation of a facility, but also the level of public infrastructure required when things do not go according to plan. The question is not whether an accident is likely. The question is whether Lee County is prepared if one occurs. Across the country, professionally operated closed-loop facilities have experienced fires, chemical releases, equipment failures, and other significant emergencies. Those incidents were not expected, but local governments were still responsible for managing the consequences. Do we currently have the fire response, hazmat capabilities, emergency management resources, utility infrastructure, and environmental protections necessary to respond to a worst-case event associated with a facility of this scale? Has that assessment been conducted? And if it has, how can the public review it? If it is not, why are we moving forward before that analysis is complete? Responsible people can agree or disagree about whether this project belongs in light industrial or heavy industrial zoning. That's precisely why additional public review is necessary. Citizens should not lose their opportunity for meaningful participation simply because a project falls within an existing zoning category. The larger and more complex a project becomes, the greater the need for transparency, public participation, and deliberate review. Trust is not a substitute for transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reese. Randy Randy Sore.
Hi, it's Randy Soar, 816 North Gulf Street, Sanford, North Carolina. Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'm also concerned about the designation of light industrial. I've been doing a little research and just looking at, we talk a lot about the water consumption, about the power consumption. Google's data center in the Dalles, Oregon became a major controversy after it was revealed that Google's water usage consumed 1/3 of the city's entire capacity. So now those residents are facing the taxpayer cost of expanding the infrastructure. Their water pressure has dropped. Their hydrants are not giving enough pressure for fire safety. So are we prepared to give up 1/3 of our water supply to support this one business? Let's talk about power. A single large-scale facility can consume as much electricity as 100,000 residential homes. 100,000 residential homes. So the resulting burden on the power grid is going to lead to higher bills, and customers will have to foot the bill for the required infrastructure growth. Compared to one of Sanford's heavy industrial businesses, Lee Brick and Tile Company, its power consumption is equal to about 800 residential homes, and it's heavy industrial. So how is that matching up with light industrial for a business that's going to use the power required for 100,000 residential homes? We only have roughly 70,000 homes here, and Duke is already struggling, saying they have to raise rates to support that, and we're talking about adding on the need for 100,000 more homes to supply this. I'm just asking, with the effects so severe, how is the Point One data center zoned as light industrial? It seems like the only advantage of the project is that it's going to alter the statutory process required for approval by removing the requirement for transparency. Please, moratorium now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Charles Gunter? Is Charles Gunter here? Okay. Well, that closes those who have signed up for public comment and are.
How are y'all doing? I apologize for that. My name's Jana Patak, and I was a single mother when I bought my home at 49 Covert Road in Deep River. I never wanted to live in Sanford. Please allow me to explain why I am a resident today. This is my daughter, Ayla. She will be 7 years old in just a couple of weeks. I didn't plan to have a disabled child when I was 23, and some things just happened, and God made her beautiful. It is so hard as a single parent to find affordable housing. You know how many people like myself live in Sanford. You also know how many people with disabilities are in Sanford compared to surrounding counties and the rest of North Carolina. I found myself in Sanford because I needed to be close enough to the hospitals that we went to for her, as well as the Floyd Knight School, because I needed her to have the best chance possible at thriving at life. We just passed our first ever year and a half without any inpatient visits, and that was huge for us. Just a couple months after I bought our house, she had her heart surgery. It was her 4th surgery ever. Today she's had 5 or 6. I've honestly lost count. I'm a terrified mother, and I appreciate you listening to everyone. My story is very unique, but my situation is not. There are so many people just genuinely concerned for the health. People who have, like myself, we've already been fighting. We're just looking for safety and just so scared of having that taken away. Where will we go? What will we do? What do I do as a mother to further protect my child? Are we gonna add another specialist to our team? Do I need to worry about my 1-year-old who to date has been perfectly healthy? It's terrifying, and I just urge you to please take this all into consideration when considering the data centers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment time. Thank you all for coming. I'm grateful for your time. We're going to move into So we're going to move into old business for appointments for boards and commissions, and you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We are going to have some exciting talk about budget and some other things later on. Thanks for being here.
Why don't we take a break?
Haley asked if we could take it after this.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, I surrender.
Thank you, Haley. What's that? Yeah, that's what I think we're gonna do. Please go ahead, Haley.
Sure, can you hear me?
No. Is that the
Okay.
best that we can do? Can you pull it down toward you a little bit?
Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
It is that time of year again for our annual boards and commissions appointments. At your seats, you'll have the final ballots without the watermarks. If you don't have one, I have extra over there, but you should all have one. So if you don't have any questions, I would love for you all to entertain a motion to vote by ballot
I have
for
a
these
question.
appointments.
What's your new name?
I'm keeping my name. I'm pretty established.
So 2026 over here.
All right.
Millennial, right.
Well said.
I sign a lot of things,
Motion
you know?
to vote by
Motion
ballot.
to approve voting by ballot.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Perfect. So if you will go ahead and fill that out if you haven't already, and please sign that second page once you're finished.
Thank you. Once we have our ballots filled out, we're going to take a 10-minute break. I think we could put the 10-minute break on the clock now. Thank you.
You should have one at your seat that's not marked draft. That's the one you need to complete. It's the one not marked draft.
All right, our recess is completed, and we will move on to new business. Elizabeth, if you could present the request to approve the funding of the contract for city planning services.
Thank you for letting me fill in tonight. Since at least 2013, the Board of Commissioners has contracted with the City of Sanford for the city to provide planning services for the county. These things include zoning administration, enforcement, subdivision administration, long-range planning, land use planning, floodplain ordinance administration, and other related services. On June 17th of 2024, the board approved the latest contract with the City of Sanford for planning services. This contract automatically renews every year if the parties agree on the budget and make appropriations in keeping with the agreed-upon division of the funding. And that current division of funding is for the county to provide 45% of the planning budget, less capital. So this year, the amount requested from the city for the budget appropriation is $827,932 for fiscal year 2026 and 2027. And as a reminder, we will need a motion to recuse Commissioner Sharp from this item.
Yes. A motion to recuse, can someone make the motion?
I'll make the motion. I did,
Okay.
yeah.
It's been made. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to start, my concern with this is, this has been contracted since 2000, when was this, 13? When was the last time? It's been a while, right?
The overhaul redos were in 2013. Our latest one was June 17th of 2024.
So
We have
my-
had it going back to the 90s.
My concern is with the 45%. So I don't think the county uses 45% of the planning service. So I think you sent a document that I only had to review quickly, but I think that percentage is much lower. So is there a reason why we're still at 45%?
We have not been asked to review that cost, and except if you want to review it, we could review it over the next year and see what.
Why can't we review it before this year, this budget year?
It would, I mean, you have the numbers that were provided to you. To be able to see what it would cost us to pull a planning department together would take more than probably 2 weeks to do the appropriate research.
I'm sorry, I didn't, we have to do what, I'm sorry?
To be able to determine what the cost of planning would be for us if we did not do it with the city, it would take us more than 2 weeks to appropriate pull those costs.
So we have to wait a whole year to figure that out? Is that what you're telling me?
That would be my recommendation, since it's an annual contract, is that you direct, if you go ahead and do this year's contract, direct staff to explore the cost of stepping out on our own. We can report back to you in plenty of time to give the notice for the 6-month notice, and then decide. We did do 6-month notice back to the 2013, back before the 2013 contract, and that's where these newest version of the contract came from, was the review. That we did decide to stay with the city at that time, but we did give them 6 months' notice that we would be reviewing the contract and talking with them.
All right, so you're saying that the city may not, whatever percentage we figure out, the city may not be okay with that, may not want to continue services with that? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, sir. I have not discussed it with them.
Why don't we get the planning director up here, up to the podium? Because I wanted to ask a question. I didn't realize what you were really talking about on this planning deal. What about the second part? Is there a second part for inspections, and are this one contract or the 2 contracts? What's the deal?
There are 2 separate contracts. You have the planning contract, which is before you tonight. There is a separate inspections contract. It is not before you because it is not requiring an appropriation in the budget. At this point in time, with the department combined, the fees coming in for inspections are covering the cost.
Oh, okay.
So that contract is not before you because it's an automatic renewal. It is the same thing with the planning contract. If it would have went to you strictly in the budget and would not have been a separate contract, other than we need to recuse Commissioner Sharp.
Well, when I looked at this report a few minutes, and by the way, I like this. What do? This is you give this out annual or every 6 months?
We have been lately. It's usually requested by your manager, and we've been trying to keep that up to date. We've changed it a little bit each year to try to get a little bit more detailed. But yes, it's something we've been doing, I think, the last 2 years.
Well, I just looked at a couple of your percentages here. I guess planning case file, residential and commercial. You know, the numbers change when you exclude Broadway, the percentage, I mean. Have you looked at that? For example, you have here, when you use all 3 categories, Lee County is at 32%. If you compare Lee County and the city of Sanford, we moved to 48%.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
For the purposes of your contract, I see what you're saying. You take Broadway out to get it
Yeah.
more just city and county. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
we
skewed
could
otherwise.
update that, yes.
Yeah, okay. So we don't really have a problem with the inspection piece.
I think, as your manager indicated, that's a separate contract, and in the last several years, that has kind of paid for itself, for lack of a better description.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, I'm still going to look at what it costs to take inspections in-house, and at least we have an idea of costs. That way we can take back, that authority into the county, so when people have issues and they bring it before us, we have some authority to take action. So I'm just told that after we get the budget approved, then we can start looking at that particular piece.
Okay, and what are we doing on this is the planning department we're dealing with right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So how does the 45%, where's that number, where'd that number come from?
do not know. It was pre-Marshall, so I think that's,
So in the 2013 contract, when originally the city and county sat down and tried to figure it out, that's where it came from, and it's been the same since that time.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth, I think that 4555 has been the same since the original or close to it.
I just have back to
I think pretty much
2013.
the
So I came in
Yeah.
2003, and I want to say that contract number, that amount, there are other things I'm sure have, but that breakdown has been the same since I
Do you
came
think
here.
the county's still at 45% of usage?
I think it depends on the service. I mean, I can't tell you definitively. I gave you the numbers there. Certainly, there are categories, you know, when you're looking at certain permits, they're not given that. But I do think generally, from a service delivery standpoint, we answer a lot of questions, we help a lot of folks, and generally, we don't really, you know, it doesn't matter what jurisdiction they're in, whether it's city or county or Broadway for that matter. So there's a lot of things that are kind of intangible that aren't necessarily, because a lot of times things that get to a permit, there's a lot more background, a lot more questions. Like the folks over here, they'll call us and they'll ask a lot of questions about zoning things and things like that. So yes, I understand what you're asking, but I don't know that you're going to be able to get that definitive 45, 55 exactly.
You got it at one point.
Well, I don't know, again, I don't know how they came up with that. I don't know if they used that from a population standpoint. I don't know if there was just an overall metric that they used for that.
And I apologize, Dr. Connect, I was not involved in those original contracts, so I don't know how that original 45-55 split was decided either.
I'm sure there's records on it. So can we find out what percentage were?
I'll ask, sure, yeah. What I recall when I took the job, it was based on population at that time. But I don't want to tell you that for sure without me doing some research.
Is there any reason we can't get this report more frequently to give us an idea of what's actually going on for planning?
We can, yeah, of course we do. Yes, short answer is yes, we can.
I'd like to request seeing this more frequently.
Does Broadway have a portion, or are they under Lee County?
Broadway
Or
is separate, yeah. We
separate,
track
they
them
have their own.
separately, and they have a separate contract with the city.
Okay.
I mean, you can see on their development
What did
activity
you say?
right now.
You say Broadway was separate? You charge them separately?
Yes, it's on very nominal fee, but yes,
Yeah,
we do.
they
I
do
believe so.
about 2%.
Yeah, I know it's a separate contract.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're doing 55, we're doing 45, and then you do another 2%, you're above 100 though, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
If this contract is, or we, just for 45%, and you said the city, it does the other 55 of the
That's the
charges?
split between the city and the county. The contract with Broadway is separate.
It's called gravy, man. You know what that is.
Is that what that is? That's gravy? Thank you. All right, so you can get me the number in terms of, and then we can always move forward on this in the future, correct? We can revi-
How many people are in your planning department?
So zoning, current planning, which would be the folks that you see the most, that is 6 folks, I believe, currently. We have 2 in long-range planning. We have 2 in community development. And then myself and 1 admin in terms of administration. And that does not include, of course, inspections, and it doesn't include code enforcement, because that's through the city.
I didn't add, how many is that total?
6, 2, 2, 10, 12, if you're just looking at planning, and make sure I'm not forgetting anyone. Zoning, community development, and long-range planning.
And then how many in inspections?
Inspections has 6 field inspectors, and 4 permitting in-house staff.
22 people or a little better, give or take.
Roughly, yeah. And then 3 in code enforcement, or 4 in code enforcement, excuse me, that is city-owned.
So how would you go about, if we bought that in-house, Madam Manager?
Yes, sir.
How would you determine what we're gonna need to bring it in-house, and how long will it take to figure that out?
How long would it take? It's probably going to take us a good month to 2, because we're going to have to work with Marshall to see what our current numbers are,
All right,
do research with other counties with similar amount of permit issued to figure out the staffing requirements.
all
Then
right.
we'd also have to figure out where we can put them and what additional capital requirements and software requirements we would have.
So, see, I'd wanna know what that cost is, versus what we're paying out right now.
Oh, it's-
sir.
Yeah.
That's we always want to know that, right? And so are you talking about planning and inspections or just inspections? Or both?
Well, if you made changes with both, and I don't know what we're really
No,
trying to do.
just making sure, yeah.
Okay,
I agree with both, yeah.
then yeah, I need to know what the numbers are.
Yes, sir.
So do we
So
have,
you'll find that percentage of what our percentage of utilization is of planning?
We will, I don't know that I can give, I will continue to provide information, and I'll work with the manager to see what we can come up with. But again, I don't know that I'm going to be able to give you exactly what because again, the numbers are the numbers, right? So we can look at that and see what that breakdown is. But I'm not sure. If you're asking, though, if I thought your original question was to go back and look at where we came up with the 45 and the 55 originally.
Well,
I
I'm
can
just
certainly
assuming that,
explore
at 45, we're using 45% of the services,
Right.
and majority of services aren't in the county. I
Right,
don't
but
think,
again, it's,
we're probably closer to,
we could probably, what I
25,
would
30.
say is we would look at each level of service, like long-range planning is a completely different way of doing it, because that's a project-based thing, right? And if you look at that, like, several of those projects, most of those projects are county jurisdiction too. And then you've got current planning, which is really driven by either a developer or an applicant, and so you're likely going to get more projects in the city because they're higher density projects, right?
right, that's what I'm saying, so
Right,
majority of the
whereas
stuff's
like
done
the
in the
minor
city.
subdivisions are more county-driven because they're smaller projects, where you'll see the county dominates that category. So it depends on how you want to weight priority on each category, I guess is what I'm saying, how you do that. But yes, we can come up with something, I guess, that will try
Okay,
to answer
thank
that
you.
question for you.
Yeah, and is there any chance we can get a refund, for example, when you do the county work and then you annex it? I just thought of that.
That's very smart.
It's fair. I mean, they already got the 2% from Broadway.
No,
It's
that's
the gravy.
more discussion?
Not on the monetary part, but could, for the record, that brought up a thought when they said something's annexed in, and we talked on UDO earlier tonight. When something is annexed in to the city from the county, is the UDO up under the city UDO at that time, or does it stay?
Yeah, so when-
Is
when
that
it-
what reason we're trying to get the UDOs close?
Yeah,
Is that-
yeah, and so it gets confusing, because like, for example, your light industrial and city light industrial is the same in the UDO. It's literally the same. But under law, when something goes from the county zoning and is annexed by the city has 60 days under law, they have to assign zoning to it. Now, what staff does is we work with the petitioner, because it's voluntary, right? So they voluntarily petition, and we say, if you want to keep it the same, we usually can take that forward to the city council and say, they want to go from county LI to city LI. They know what that, just like you know LI, right? So they're very used to that. But however, a lot of these larger projects that might be like a mixed use or residential project or industrial, they'll have conditional zoning sometimes with those. So they'll take a raw piece of land, they'll petition for annexation, and then concurrent with that, they'll do a conditional zoning with like a master plan and those kind of things with it.
Thank you, I just get that question a lot
Yeah,
in areas, and,
It's confusing.
well, they asking me what's going on, and I say, that's cities.
Right.
Thank you, Marshall.
Any further discussion?
So what are we doing?
Maybe a motion, if there's a motion to approve the funding for this contract, we could move forward with funding this contract for now, and at the same time, look into.
Madam Chair, I
Sir.
approve I move to approve the fiscal year 2026-27 funding of the contract with the City of Sanford for planning services.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We will next move into the budget. The county manager will present this item.
Yes, ma'am. In your package on page 269, you will see the adjustments that have been made to the manager's recommended 26-27 budget, and these have been incorporated into the ordinance that is provided. Before I forget, though, I do want to point out to you at your spot, you were given a page that shows corrected LCAP fees or for the Lee County Athletic Park. The fees that were included in for that did not reflect the most recent approved fees by the board. So if the ordinance is approved, we will make sure that those fees get changed when we do that, print the new ones. However, I wanted to walk you back through the changes that were made. So you see a decrease and increase column. We did decrease the ad valorem taxes by $5,116,000, $5,116,942 to represent the removal of the 5-cent tax increase from the recommended rate, bringing it back down to 65 cents. You will see a decrease in the increase in the transfers in for the reduction of the penny for the debt plan funding. So that would bring us back to that allocation of 5.35 cents, which means we have to bring more in from our capital reserve fund of the $1,023,388. We also increased the transfers in to cover essential services with existing funds. We took the $1,995,000, we're transferring that in from the Lee County Athletic Park project to cover debt service. And then it was also taking a fund balance appropriation of $51,680 to cover the EMS contract with those funds and the potential need to cover revenue loss from the SNAP program. The shift from the school current expense increase to fund balance increased our fund balance appropriation by $1,023,388. The shift of building improvements increased to fund balance. That increased that fund balance appropriation by another $1,023,388. The utilization of additional ARPA revenue loss funds for the 3 new positions increased our fund balance appropriation by $450,501. Those are the revenue changes. The expenditure changes listed below there were the adding the 2 deputy sheriff positions with revenue loss funds, total $367,557, and the additional real property appraiser position is $82,944. So the net increase to both revenues and expenditures is $450,501. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you may have regarding those changes.
Questions for the county manager?
Yeah, I'm glad you covered that. Do you have a total for the 4 fund balance appropriations?
I think I did try to put something together with that. I don't know if the total's just this 4. Bear with me for 1 second, Commissioner Reeves.
Mind if I piggyback on that question real quick?
Sure.
So I guess also, is the reason why utilizing the ARPA revenue loss funds is considered a fund balance appropriation because the ARPA funds are sitting in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
to take the items that are literally coming from fund balance,
Yeah.
Commissioner Reeves, let me do that math. I didn't total it that exact way. So you've got, sorry, that was not the right button on my phone. 1,023,388 times 2 plus the 450,501. So basically, the 2 things that are coming straight will be our straight fund balance appropriation, total $2,497,277. That is the school funding, the penny that basically went to schools from fund balance, the penny for building improvements, and then the additional positions. So those 3 things total $2,497,277. Does not include the funds coming from LCAP because that was a separate funding source.
And the use of those funds support no tax increase.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Other discussion?
What was your question?
Other
Just
discussion?
any discussion, just want to facilitate any discussion that we have or questions.
Would you mind explaining the decreased step plan allocation of 5.35 cents line?
Okay, so I had recommended a penny increase in the tax rate to take us back to the 6.35 cents.
Yes.
So based on that increase, we would have taken less money out of the capital reserve fund because you would have been dedicating another penny of the tax rate to debt service, so we wouldn't need to take as much out. So by lowering it back down to 5.35 cents, I will need to take $1,023,388 out of our capital reserve fund.
And if we didn't do that at all, I guess it sounds like it's an action that we're doing, and I'm trying to, am I understanding that correctly? I'm sorry.
Well, by not funding that penny, we had to make the adjustment in the budget, and it's going to take us bringing an additional $1,023,388 from the capital reserve fund to cover that penny that y'all were not approving for that purpose.
That's where I'm having my difficulties, because this is not what you're recommending, and how would you handle this same situation?
Commissioner Reeves, my recommended budget had us putting a penny onto the tax rate to replace the penny that was taken from the debt plan allocation last year. Okay? So that is how I would have resolved that. So we would not have had to take those funds from capital reserve. It would have came from the tax revenue. To cover the essential services with the existing funds that we're doing with the LCAP money, I had proposed a 2-cent tax increase to cover the EMS contract and the potential loss of funds from the SNAP program. And I say potential loss of funds because there are bills initiated at the House or in the legislature that may assist us with that, but they have not been approved at this time. So I still have to go based on, we may have to pay those expenses. The current expense increase that's now being taken out of fund balance, I had proposed a penny increase in our tax rate to cover that. So then the shift in building improvements, I had proposed a penny increase to start funding building improvements at a higher level so that we may maintain our buildings and all. The ARPA revenue loss funds, those are coming from ARPA revenue loss. Those are new expenses that were added to the budget, and we are using ARPA funds for those. So the offset, so the 1, 2, 3, 4, first 4 things in blue on your sheet, if you have it in front of you, are being, those offset the drop in the property tax revenues that we have.
And I don't know what the vote was on the last budget vote. I know I didn't support it. But what's the plan for making that up? I'm asking the chair.
You're asking me as an individual what the plan is for?
As one of the members who voted for no tax increase, I'm trying to compare.
Understood. Well, I mean, I would propose we do a performance audit this coming year. We reevaluate how we've been doing service, how we've been delivering services, and we have a significant amount, we have a full fiscal year before we find ourselves in this position again.
Okay, County Manager, what's the amount tax you were recommending? How many pennies?
I recommended 5.
Okay. And I'm trying to understand what you're talking about, a performance review. when you mentioned it to me, and we looked at the previous performance review, the one we did several years ago.
I think the last performance review we did was in, what, 2011, 2012?
2011, 2012, I believe so.
So I think the question is has the county reviewed the performance review from then? Has it been reviewed recently? Is that correct?
Yeah, to see what we did or did not, how we came out on it. I hear what you're proposing. I don't want to pay for what we may already have and have not tried. So I'm looking for answers on, I don't see how we get around no tax increase. And for the record, I am on the ballot, and I hate paying taxes, but I pay them.
Sure.
I'm paid in full every year. But my point is, I can't sit here and support no tax increase when I know this county can't afford to do what's being proposed by whatever the vote count was. I don't remember. What is it, 4-3 or 5, or what is it?
I don't recall what the
It
vote count was.
varied depending
gave
on which
Yeah.
item was being discussed.
Well,
Madam Chair?
sir.
I mean, we did just give guidance at the workshop.
Yes. So,
They what?
We gave guidance.
Like a consensus, but not a vote.
we
Was it
can
a
call it to vote.
finalized
We can
vote?
call it to
Okay,
vote now.
What was it, consensus?
Yeah.
Okay, the consensus was no tax increase. Is that correct?
That was the takeaway from, yeah.
And I'm sitting here asking, okay, then tell me how we take care of this, what's in front of us, if we don't accept what staff had recommended be
Well,
done.
I know I'll speak for myself. I know
Great.
last year it was estimated it was only going to be a 1% tax increase, or sales tax revenue increase, and we were at 12%. And we're back down to only estimating that we're going to be at 5% sales tax revenue over that. So my point is, if we did it at the 12%, I don't remember what that was. I couldn't find the numbers. For some reason, I'm going to say 5.6 million, and it's probably, I've got that number memorized from something else. But the amount of sales tax revenue that came in was 12%. It was budgeted at 1%. So if we fall in that line and we raise taxes 5 cents because we only think we're doing 1%, we did 12%. Where did that other 11% of sales tax revenue go? And that's my point on why don't we estimate and take into consideration that we are having LCAP and we do have people that are spending money in our county more. Like, that's what I'm not seeing transpire on paper. Where'd the 11% go? And why did that not, and my point a week and a half ago was, if all these things are coming in and they're producing sales tax revenue, if it doesn't help the citizens, why are we doing it? And that's what I'm trying to figure out on with.
I support you on trying to figure it out.
And then the reason we
But
had
you're
mentioned.
not doing it every day. You're not doing it any day that I know of.
So where'd the 11% go?
Oh, I'm not a staff person. You need to ask
I know.
staff. Right. Well, that's
Yeah.
my point. Let's find out from staff. I don't, it's very easy to sit here and say, no, we're going to protect the public with no tax increase. I mean, that's easy. What about next year? You know, what happens is we get further behind each time. When was the last time we had a tax increase?
Well, then we're going to move into the reval from last time. Was it a tax increase or decrease? Was it an effective tax increase, right?
And you have a
Because you
reval
had the
coming
reval.
January 1st.
So
Our last reevaluation, Madam Chair, we did not go to revenue neutral, but we actually raised taxes, I want to say 8 cents?
Effectively raise taxes, right?
It was 8 cents.
And I think the
Can I-
performance review,
I'll,
go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say the performance review is, why would you review something from 2011 when we have to have 200 and something more employees? So whatever they found that was not working or working in 2011, couldn't even possibly apply to 2026 and what the different departments are doing or where we could maybe streamline things. And then the fear of the SNAP benefit, when we did that in January, I think there was only one time out of 10 years that we'd even gotten close to the 10%. I don't know, you're shaking your head, so.
The 10% is different than this piece that we're accounting for. This that we're accounting for now accounts for the salaries that we will not be getting reimbursed for. That percentage is going from 50% reimbursement to only 25% reimbursement. It will be next fiscal year when we would possibly have to start paying part of the benefits, and that is still being reviewed as far as the cost of that based on the state's error rate and then how the state is going to handle that. So that's not been factored into the 26-27 budget.
And then the other thing that has still never been reviewed is at some point, the board has agreed to a 32% fund balance. The state requires 20%. Even at the $2.4 million allocation, you're still sitting at $47 million.
Okay, can I clarify something on that? When you asked me fund balance last, at the other meeting, I gave you the total fund balance because I couldn't quickly ascertain our fund balance available for appropriation. I have looked at those numbers, and somewhere in my stack, hold on, bear with me. I have them. So sorry, thank you. Sorry, way too many pieces of paper. Fund balance appropriation. Oh, here it is. Sorry, I had it right on top. Got confused between the LCAP and that one. So at the end of this fiscal year, 6/30/26, we anticipate, so let me back up. Our fund balance available for appropriation as of 6/30/25 in our audited financial statements was $38,939,193. That is different from our total fund balance in our financial statements based on the way the state tells us to calculate the percentage, the amount to use for the percentage of general fund expenditures. We are projecting to use fund balance in this fiscal year of $4,033,819. That would bring our projected fund balance available for appropriation down to $34,905,374, which would put us at 27.61% of the general fund expenditures. That puts us within your ranges, not at the top of your range or at the bottom. If you go on and look at what we are projecting to use of fund balance in fiscal year 26-27, that would bring us down to approximately $27,035,351, which is 21.15% of our general fund expenditures estimated.
So we're at approximately $35 million available fund balance right now. Is that correct?
We would be at just around $35 million after the end of this year.
What percentage would that be?
It's 27.61% of general fund expenditures.
And what is the state requirement?
20.
And what is our range?
We're at 27.61, but the state actually doesn't have a point-blank requirement. They have a recommendation based on the budget size that if you go on and read their full document, they recommend that you look at the average of your grouping, and we are one of the lowest in our grouping.
Years ago, they didn't want you to drop below 8%, or they started looking at you.
Yes, sir. So they have actually raised their recommendation now because they've gone away from population groups. They basically have below a $100 million budget and above a $100 million budget as the recommendations.
Madam Chair, in order to put everyone's mind at ease, I'm going to recommend that we move to direct staff to put out requests for proposals to conduct a countywide performance audit in time for the 27-2028 budget period. It's my motion.
You heard the motion. Can I make an amendment to your motion?
Amendment accepted.
Is it possible, County Manager, to move that up and have a performance audit done by spring so that we can incorporate it into the planning for the budget?
I would have to see what the timing would be based on the results of the RFP.
Thank you.
If whether or not it's time, it can give them enough time
Okay.
that we can propose it that way.
Okay, so the motion has been made by Commissioner Smith to put out an RFP in time for the next fiscal year budget. Any discussion?
Yes, I go back to my original point. I'd like to have staff review the last one we did. I don't know what we didn't do in that, and I certainly don't remember it. I don't think any of you remember it. So I'd like to have that at least looked at and some idea of what this new one might cost.
All right.
Have a motion. What was his motion?
Let me go back to the original motion. The motion by Commissioner Smith is to to direct staff to put out an RFP for the performance audit in time, for the upcoming for the next fiscal year. All those in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Yes. And opposed?
No.
Do you have that vote? I don't know if, does everyone need to vote on that? Okay, can I have a show of hands for aye? And for nay? I also have a motion to have the last performance audit brought up and reviewed and reported back to the board on the implementation.
Staff do a review and get back to the board.
Perfect.
That
Yeah.
doesn't need a motion, that's a request.
Oh, okay, okay, perfect.
Yeah, I don't need a motion
Thank you.
for that.
All right.
Madam Chair, I got a question for the county manager.
Mr.
Real
Sharp.
quick. The money, the $1.9 million for essential services, could that be a potential, us spending that money in that manner, could that be a potential loss of jobs?
The issue, that's a hard question to answer because we're going to have that money eventually because it's one-time money covering recurring expenses.
Right.
So
Will it be replaced?
it's going to have to be replaced next year. And looking at numbers, it's going to require a tax increase next year. I've already walked through the revenue, an estimate of the revenue neutral calculation. And the way that's calculated is looking at an average of our growth per year since the last reval. And right now, looking at our estimates, we're only looking at a 3.14% increase in our value. So that's all the growth that you can calculate off of to get your revenue neutral. So based on that, that's only going to give us about $2 million in new revenue. That doesn't cover all the expenditures that we will have next year. So, I mean, it's,
So the 2 million in revenue from property tax or just?
yes,
property
ma'am,
tax
and
plus
even,
sales tax?
that's just property tax. We've also looked at sales tax, and we still have a shortfall. And while I have it, I would say to you that the 11% difference in where we were budgeting last year and where we're budgeting now has been accounted for. When we are figuring the 5% growth next year, that's off the proposed income this year, not off the budget that we had last year. So that money has been accounted for. But sitting here when we were doing the budget for last year and the months that we had in, we were seeing a very nominal growth. Shortly after the budget was adopted, we started seeing the change. We came to y'all at the retreat and expressed that we were seeing it, and we took action on some things at the January retreat that were not handled last year because we didn't think we had the money because of the sales tax dollars. So we have taken action. You did an additional funding for the schools, additional allocation to them to cover their certified pay plan, thank you, and we did the adjustment for the jail salaries. So we have accounted for that. Those monies are included in the budget this year. And I will remind you that the budget was prepared, we covered the continuation budget. What was not covered in this recommended budget without a tax increase was the new cost of the EMS agreement and the lost revenues. So then we asked that the penny that we took last year off the debt plan be put back to assist with the future debt funding. And then we asked that additional penny be given to the schools to help us catch up funding for them. And then the additional funding for the building improvements. So as far as normal operations, we are balanced. But that additional cost for EMS needs to be covered out of recurring expenses. And also that, I just want to address that, that we did use the sales tax money.
Thank you.
May I remind the board members, if you have this document, what is that, 2014, where we had the raised taxes 7.5 cents?
It was 2016.
What was it, 2016?
Yes, sir. That's when we had to go up
Yeah, I
so
got it.
much.
Yeah. It appears to me we're headed in that same direction again on the next board. And I clearly and perfectly realize I may not be a member of this board. That won't change the inevitable. You can't operate out of your savings account, and that's what we seem to be trying to do. And while all of it looks and sounds easy and very good, it's not real. We're incurring real debt. Real debt. And it's only stockpiling. And this camouflage is not going to work. I don't quite understand how you come in and make these tough calls and ignoring staff recommendations. As a matter of fact, that's what your workshop should have been about, a real down-to-earth discussion about the recommendations.
Well, if you're going to do that, then you need to have all the committee, or all the departments present in January then, correct?
I can't answer that. I mean, if that's what you think, that's what you should recommend.
I'm just saying, you're saying we should have had the entire picture in January, and we didn't.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, but that's how you have a full conversation on it, is having the whole
Okay.
picture.
Okay, I agree. Go ahead. And your point is?
Then if that's, I mean, I won't be on the board, so if that was
That's
something
another
you were,
valid point.
that's something that you would like to have done, that's probably something you should recommend, is that they present in January.
Well, I
Because
had,
it's hard to have a conversation in January and then not know what's even being asked of our departments until May, basically. And then we have 2 weeks to have a discussion, and then a week later, we have another discussion, and then we're here. So timeline-wise, I mean, I'm just saying, if you want a full-blown discussion in January, you need to know what the departments want then. Because if not, then we're still only getting half the pieces of the puzzle to try and make the recommendations. Because what I heard you say was, in January, we should have advised the manager to not do a 5% tax increase. And I just don't know how I would have done that, or
No,
been
you-
able to have a conversation about it, not knowing what the departments need.
you must have heard someone else say that. I
So
didn't.
what did you say?
I didn't say January at all.
But you said the board retreat, which is, it occurred in January.
No. You might have heard that, but I didn't hear it.
Okay, so,
And
so
I
then,
didn't
do
say
you
it.
mind telling me what you did say?
I'm saying that the staff works diligently, day in, day out, to come up with a proposal and recommendation for the board as it relates to the needs of the county. Board members, at least 4 will come in, whether it is consensus or a vote. will come in and say, well, I don't agree with that. I think we don't need anything.
Okay,
But
but
I
then
don't,
you said
you
after
don't
that
have
is,
anything to show me how you arrived at that other than your gut instinct or direction from some other source. And as you pointed out,
well, if you're going to use my words that I won't be here in January, then why would I be voting on anything currently? So I don't think I'd go there. So,
I don't
you
understand.
said,
I don't
go
understand.
ahead. So based on what I'm hearing you say is no matter what the staff comes up with, we should just check the box yes and walk away.
That's what you said. I said we should have a more involved discussion with staff about their recommendations and how they arrived at them. And that's all I'm asking of the consensus group who said we don't need a tax increase. Tell me how you arrived, or help me understand how you arrived there. I mean, like I just
Commissioner
told you,
Reeves?
anybody can go pull out of the savings account and make things disappear for that time period. But we gotta look beyond that.
And we had a 4-hour discussion on that at the budget meeting on June 5th.
Commissioner Reeves, I will also say that I have sat in the county office with the team, with various staff members. I put the hours in to listen and to understand, and I will agree with what I believe your unspoken statement is, and that I'm assuming is we have an excellent county manager and staff who have put a lot of work into bringing us this budget. I believe that is the underlying operation that you're working from.
Goes without saying.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. However, speaking for myself, while I agree that paying recurring bills out of a savings account, we'll call it, is not a good practice. I shared this at the work session, I think. There have been times in my life when things have come up, and I have had to do that. And that's literally why we have a savings account. So when I look at this budget, I'll just quickly give you my overview of, because you asked, what's my plan specifically? I'll just run through a couple of thoughts with you. One, we have what's been brought up. We have a sales tax differential. We have a performance audit coming up. We heard the county manager already say taxes are going to be raised next year. We have a reval coming up. We have plenty of money in our savings account to put a relief on taxpayers this year, knowing that next year we will not be in this same situation.
That's where we differ. Next year we're being worse.
Next year, we will likely be in a situation where we have a higher EMS number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the contract reads. So yes, we will have that for sure, unless, things change with that, which I don't expect they're going to. So your question really your question specifically was, what is your plan? And I just want to respond back with, my plan is to utilize a break for the taxpayer this year and to lay out that performance audit, to look at our sales tax increase. Hopefully we have new businesses coming in. We have a reval coming up. This wasn't like a newspaper article said pulling spaghetti out of the sky trying to make something stick. This was hours of conversation and thinking ahead to possibilities and what really is, I landed on what really is the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? We have a tax increase next year because we didn't have one this year, so it's what, a cent higher or 2 cents? If the argument is we have to raise taxes because we have let's say, just say that 2 cents this year for the EMS, and next year we're going to have, don't quote me, another 2 cents after that. it's better for the taxpayer to pay 2 cents now and 2 cents later. I disagree. I think it's better for the taxpayer to have the relief this year, to be informed of what's coming down, to be engaged with government and watch what's happening. And maybe we're not in that situation next year. Maybe we can make changes. And again, worst case scenario is we're exactly where we are today.
Well, I think worst-case scenario will be when you start to have to consider cutting services or staff, or both.
I would consider that if the performance audit said it could save money, but I would not consider it necessarily just for the sake
Then
of
the performance audit results in spending more money.
I think it was less than 200,000 for the school.
They saved money, right?
They saved, I mean, I don't dare recall, but it was,
I didn't
yeah.
hear what Commissioner Connect said.
He asked if they saved money.
Money from their performance audit.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon?
They saved money from their performance audit. I think you said it saved a few million. I
Yeah.
forget.
Oh, that's what I heard him say. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
All right, so I certainly don't want to stop discussion. In fact, I want to encourage discussion, but I have nothing else to offer on my thoughts on the why for me.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Any further discussion?
I'd ask the manager, does she have any additional comments?
No, sir, I think I've stated my recommendation several times tonight and my concerns. It's the ongoing concern of using one-time money to cover reoccurring expenses.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith.
I wish to move to approve the budget ordinance for fiscal year 2026, 2027 with the corrected Lee County Athletic Park fees included.
You have heard the motion, and just for clarity, is that you are making a motion to pass the budget as presented to us tonight by the county manager, correct?
Correct.
You hear the motion. All those in favor of passing the budget as presented tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can I have all those opposed?
No.
Do you want to raise of hands? Raise your hand for aye, please. And raise your hand for nay, please. Thank you. I think we are going to move into the capital improvement plan. County manager will also present this item.
Yes, ma'am. You have been presented the recommended CIP on several occasions, and we did hold a public hearing on that. But we have prepared the resolution that's in your agenda package on page 331 for you to approve the and the adoption of the capital improvement program for fiscal years 2026-27 through 2030-31. Please note that in the latter part of that, we are specifically listing that the projects, the Southern Lee High School auditorium and 6 classrooms, Southern Lee High School chiller and pump replacement, and San Lee Middle School chiller and pump replacement are the projects that we're giving guidance for them to proceed with the planning of those projects. However, you will also see that, I believe it's up in one of the earlier whereas, that the placement, timing, and funding of the projects listed within the capital improvement plan are preliminary in nature, and final approval for the construction of any project shall not occur until project bids have been received and evaluated by the Board of Commissioners.
Madam Chair, move to approve the CIP as presented.
You have heard the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor of supporting the approval of the CIP as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move into, I'm going to pause here. Do we want to move into monthly report? Okay, thank you. The county manager's report, please.
You should have in front of you the May 2026 monthly financial report and the March sales tax distribution report. At the end of May, revenues were at 100.27% of the ad valorem budget. No departments were over their 91.67% expenditure target spending levels. And for March sales tax distribution, we reflected a growth of 10.52% over last year. And I'll stand by for any questions.
Well, no question, but apologies for your introduction.
It's okay, no worries.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Now we will move to the county manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. Want to update you on ongoing projects. Our library building project, the contractor is working through closeout punch list and rework items. The landscape is one of the last scopes of work to close out. The subcontractor and landscape architect will complete a walk of the site prior to final acceptance and then turn over to Lee County. Non-established trees will be replaced next year as a warranty item. The sod path within the fire lane for fire truck access is in the process of being reworked. There was an install issue that will be no charge to Lee County government. Potential change orders or modifications to the scope of work that are identified through the course of construction that are required to complete and close out the project. All expenses to date are covered within the GMP or the guaranteed maximum price and the current purchase order issued to the CMR construction manager at risk. So the PCOs are reported for information only, and you will see those two PCOs listed there. On the historic courthouse project, lintel repair work has been completed on the historic courthouse project, whereby we stabilized 6 window lintels that were removed, resealed with new mortar, and includes added metal support on top of the window. Asphalt repairs are required on a section of the parking lot, which will be scheduled now that the work is completed. The parking lot was damaged by equipment associated with the grant project improvements. The contractor previously provided a credit to cover the repair. General services expansion is out to bid and closes tomorrow. The public bid opening is scheduled to take place at 10 o'clock at the Buggy Factory, a Buggy building in the finance office. The project will provide additional offices and a conference room. The Coke warehouse renovation, aside from serving the needs of public safety storage for sheriff, emergency management, and fire marshal's office, the primary goal of this project is to renovate office space to accommodate Colts and veteran services operations. So we're doing a feasibility study. And Summit Design is the group doing that, and they're working on finishing a report summary to include recommendations related to renovations between 1605 and 1611 Hawkins Avenue. Cost factors contributing to the renovations, including building code considerations and preliminary site plan. Once that study report is reviewed by staff, a scope of work will be identified for the renovation of offices and operation space for Colts and veteran services. A contract for the architectural phase of this project will be negotiated with Summit Design once the final scope is detailed. Additional work, staff is moving forward with a bid package to install a fire sprinkler system for the warehouse at 1605 Hawkins Avenue, which is the larger Coke building, which is required by the level of occupancy needed for the public safety equipment. Staff is also preparing a bid package for perimeter security fencing for the site. The bid advertisements will be posted in the near future, and contracts from the lowest responsible bidder will be brought to the board and once identified, negotiated. You have the list of reports that are attached. Upcoming meeting events. We are scheduling a meeting on June 29th to handle the fire district budgets and to handle any other budget items that may need to come before the board. We may have some budget amendments to make sure we are in good shape for the year end. And then we will be closed July 3rd in observance of Independence Day. And then we have a meeting on July 13th, August 17th, and September 21st, based on our summer schedule.
Questions for the county manager?
While she's coming, this memo that Whitney sent out on the, I guess it's a request for information.
Yes, a public records request that we received. It's a public records request that we received.
Right. Do you want it back? I don't have anything, so you want it back or what?
I can collect them, that's fine. It's just to remind
Okay.
all the members to let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get into the results, we do have one tie on the Fire Advisory Board. One applicant did receive almost unanimous appointment. That is Joshua Billings for one of the business industry seats. There is a three-way tie for the remaining business industry seat and a general public seat. Now, some individuals were determined as being eligible for the business industry seat. Anyone can be eligible for the general public from this list. So the ties are John Rizicki, excuse me, Patrick Kelly, and Bradley Schlitz. Patrick Kelly and Bradley Schlitz can fulfill the business industry seat. The other gentleman,
John Rizicki?
yes.
And can you, just for clarity, John Rizicki is a reappointment,
That's
correct?
correct.
So he has a history, right? And
Yes,
then,
he is an active and current member.
He's also the chair.
That's right.
John Rizicki.
So I will need the board to just vote on 2 out of those 3 individuals. One for a business industry seat and one for a general public seat.
How do you want that vote taken? Like, are you asking for a show of hands, or are you going to hand out?
We can do either.
Okay, is there a motion for
say,
preference? A show of hands?
You got to do this again for me. What are we doing? Oh, wait, you want to do ballot or you want to show hands?
We can do
What is
show of
the pro-
hands if
okay,
that's
thank you. Okay.
easier.
We're talking about the fire advisory board.
Yeah, this one's done.
And, yeah,
Just between those two?
it's between John Rizicki, Patrick Kelly, and Bradley Schlitz. Is that correct? So it's Bradley Schlitz, Patrick Kelly, John Rizicki.
Just 2 out of those 3? is
Why did
what
I
you're
say
saying?
it wrong all of a sudden?
I know.
Am I
Yes.
correct on those 3?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, so just for clarity, we need to re-vote. We have 3 people that we are going to be voting for. We're voting for John Rizicki, who is a reappointment and serves as chair. We are voting for Patrick Kelly, and he is under the general. And then either Patrick Kelly and Bradley Schlitz are listed as business or individual. But if I heard you correctly, you said that anybody can serve as GP,
Yes.
correct?
That's correct.
Understood?
I'm sorry, what's the real issue?
We have ties. We have ties.
We have 2 seats and 3
Why
people.
don't we just make him an alternate?
We don't have alternates on that board.
Could we?
Do what?
We don't have alternates on the board, so they're asking if we can. So we would still need to vote for alternate, or?
Yeah,
I
just
think
amend it
the
to include an
bylaws
alternate.
would need to be amended because that would be establishing a new alternate seat on that board, right? So it doesn't currently have alternates now.
Wouldn't we be the board that would decide whether we want an alternate or
I
not?
believe that's correct.
I know that's correct.
So if that's the direction of the board, I would advise to take a vote to amend the bylaws to restructure, to add that alternate if that's the desire of the board before you take the vote on the
So moved.
membership.
So moved.
All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. All right. Looks,
So then
And
I'll
when-
make
look-
I'll make a motion to put John Rizicki, did I do it right? And Patrick Kelly for Maine Fire Advisory and Bradley Schlitz as alternate.
Okay.
do we choose the alternate position?
Yes.
So we still need to vote. So,
The
Well,
least experienced
But
person
she's made a
would be the
motion to
Right.
do it all at
She
one
hit
time.
all of them.
right, but what
So
if somebody would prefer a different layout? What if someone would?
That is
pref-
up to the board.
Why don't you write up a
Yeah,
ballot?
write up a ballot.
Okay.
Because it's possible that someone would want, I mean, maybe somebody wants John Rizicki or Patrick Kelly as the alternate.
Agreed.
That's what it is.
Just take it on my list.
We need a motion motion to vote by ballot?
Could a motion to vote by ballot, please? Taylor? Someone, Mark?
So moved.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
And all in favor of voting by ballot? Aye. Any opposed?
Madam Clerk, do you need them to note which one they want as the alternate of those three?
Well,
Do you need them to note?
Alternate on who you would like.
I told you that was alternate. Do you know which one is the least experienced? Okay, so who do you want to sign?
Yes, you need to sign the ballot.
Well, make the other guy the alternate.
Please sign it, thank you.
My pen does not like that yellow spot.
John Zicki, is he? Reappoint. I thought Billings was. He is too. I thought I filled this thing out one time.
Yeah, just the one. And then do you want to write alternate?
Which one?
One alternate.
Right.
Okay, I need to do the other one, yeah. We were excluding Josh because he was already.
Because he already did, yep. Thank you, thank you.
I got to sign.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. We know you would. He knows you would.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay.
Trying to say, you walk over there at the pickleball court, but you ain't trying to walk that far.
I ain't need no exercise.
Needless to say, I wasn't sad, I was disappointed.
Do it again tonight.
Get me a golf cart and I come over there.
Trailer and back it off and rack up to the.
Okay,
I wish.
so for that alternate position, do you want a qualifier for just like a general public status for that alternate seat? Okay. All right, so since we'll do that one first. We have Joshua Billings in the first business industry seat, then Bradley Schlitz for the other, and John Rizicki for the general public seat.
Minnesota, you should know that.
I know, it's late. Patrick Kelly is the alternate.
Thank you.
Okay. On to the rest of them.
That's what it was.
So for ADA, we have Kalia Fitzgerald and Rebecca Layton. Agriculture Advisory Board is Bridget Beeson, Cecil Cameron, Lloyd Smith, Marion Garner Jr., and Patrick Kelly. Cemetery Board, Latoria McSwain. Joint Environmental Affairs Board is Lloyd Smith. JCPC is Darren Stedman and Latoria McSwain. Airport Authority is Jonathan Shockey. Consolidated Human Services Board, Ophelia Livingston, William Hall, Jeremy Thomas. CCCC Board of Trustees is Norman Chip Post. Dusty Hall to the Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Financing Authority. Rebecca Layton to the Library Board of Trustees. For the Parks and Recreation Board, Lindsay Lipsick and Pamela Adkins are the 2 regular seats, and Bridget Beeson and Dusty Hall as the 2 alternates. For the Sanford Area Growth Alliance, that will be Hope White and Roan Reese. Congratulations. To the Joint Family Care Home Community Advisory Committee, Halford Ford and Jeanette Scott and Nancy Johnson. For the Senior Services Advisory Board, David Stoddard. And lastly, Lee County Planning Board. For the 2 regular seats, we have Brad Kelly and Jonathan Hilliard, and for the 2 alternates, Charles Baker Jr. and Jeremy Cleary, yes. And that concludes our appointments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haley, who was the alternate for the Fire Advisory Board?
That was Patrick Kelly.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we move to commissioner comments. Commissioner Sharp. Okay. Commissioner Reeves?
That's it. Commissioner comments?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have a golf cart. We're going to have to park all the way in the field down
An
there.
air-conditioned golf cart.
Let me use your golf cart. Thank you.
Commissioner Warbeck?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Commissioner Connect?
Again, congratulations to the Hurricanes. I think it's the first time in history a coach and former player won the Stanley Cup, Mr. Brenda Moore. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Hope everybody stays safe in the heat.
Yeah. Commissioner Levitt?
I think we've been here long enough. No comment.
Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure everyone drives safely, wear their seatbelt, and no speeding.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. The meeting is adjourned.